Good morning, I'm Steve Thompson, Emery Thompson Machine, and welcome to Make It Fresh. Christi Brown, our sales manager, and Jeff Markow, famous as Tie-Dye Jeff. Welcome. We don't usually date where we are in these, but this is our first class of 2022, and I bring it out because, as we all know, with the COVID, 2021 and 2020 were, quite a ride. My customers did actually very well during the COVID because they switched over from scooping ice cream in stores to pre-packaging pints of ice cream and running them out to the parking lot, and it made a big difference. And if you didn't know it, the three of us, Jeff, put more people into business in 2021 into the ice cream, ices, gelato, dairy-free, custard, more people into business than in the whole history of Emery Thompson, 117 years. Last year was our biggest year. So we're doing something right, and we really, the three of us, really like to do this because we know you're going to be successful, and we're going to be here to help you. So we'll get started. Jeff, you're up first.
What?
You.
Spotlight.
Yeah, you got to work.
Yeah.
I checked the list. You're first.
Whoa.
Here.
Do they have an agenda of what we're doing?
They do.
Everybody
What
but
are we
you.
Lemon ice cream.
Lemon?
Ice cream.
Okay. Let's call it Lemon Crunch. And this is in my
That's
first
on.
book.
That's on.
I'm on my third now, but the first book has everything we're doing today.
By the way, everybody, this is Mike McDonald, our senior tech. When he's not answering your questions, he's running the board here for our cameras and sound. And so when you call here, you can call 7 days a week, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And of course, we're closed after business hours, but you can call here, leave a message, and we'll call
Can you hear me
back.
now, Mike? Mike?
Yes, I hear you fine now.
So it's working fine?
Yeah.
Okay.
But you don't have to hold it all
Well, it's
night.
going back in my pocket, so we'll keep talking and make sure that it's not the radium in my pocket that's causing a problem. How's now? Can you hear me now? Okay.
Lemon ice cream.
What?
I want to
Lemon ice
remind you,
cream.
it's lemon ice cream.
Lemon crunch.
Okay, lemon crunch.
Lemon crunch.
Lemon crunch. It's lemon crunch. And if you want the recipe, just either buy my book or take a picture of the page. Well, that was pretty fair, right?
They could just listen to you.
I don't really, all right, they could do that. Okay, we're going to use the Emery Thompson 12-quart machine. In my store, I have a 24. I've always had 24s in both stores. And it makes an easy transition to the 12. Just cut it in half. In the book, it'll give you the CB350, the 12, and the 24. Shameless promotion over?
Pretty good.
Okay. All right, so the first, bladders. You should tell the people watching at home, there is about 1,500 people here, so I'm going to...
Jeff, it's COVID. They know it's a lie. Sorry.
Actually, it's just me and my family. So the bladders come like this from your dairy, and it's basically cream. And it comes 2 bladders to a box. They call it a case. Runs about $45, $50 for the case. So these run about how much?
$45, $50. Oh, half of that.
Okay, rewind and cut. Yeah, these run about not more than $25. Okay. So when you're computing your costs, as we did in class yesterday, I believe, you'll see that there's money to be made in this industry, silly money. It's like nothing else. As a matter of fact, if you want on your paper, just add up how much we're spending to make the ice cream, and I'll tell you how many servings we're going to get out of it, and then you too will jump into this business, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's put some, since there's no pitchers here for measuring.
Since when do you
the way to handle these bladders, by the way, they come with this snazzy little top on it, and if you pick it up and choke it, because otherwise it's going to go all over the place, just choke it, make sure it's raised, and then pop the top off. Now you're safe until you cap it again. So just be careful with it. Right? So we'll put in, let's do 3 quarts this one, so that we don't have to go all the way to the top, and then we'll add more. Don't make me forget to add more.
All right.
So the first thing we're going to do, make sure the chute is closed. I still have a problem. You pour it in and it's on the floor, but not so much anymore. And I always make sure that there's a bucket underneath, and I put a towel underneath, just so it doesn't slip. Too many tips, right?
No, it's all good.
Okay. So we'll start by adding 3 quarts into the machine. The machines have been rinsed and sanitized, which it's easy to do, right, Matt? Not too hard.
Oh,
I mean, even you did it.
Yeah, hold it off.
So that's 3. We'll add another 2, right? Giving us 5 quarts, which is half a batch. Interesting tip is a 20-cent tip. When you're measuring something, even with a measuring cup, most people put the gradations on this side, and then they're caught doing this. If you simply turn it around and look through it, because they're all clear, you can see where you're going without having to bend down and measure. So we'll add another 2. And then we're through with this for the time being. You're going to use this, aren't you?
Yes.
All right. So we'll add the rest of this. I always felt like there should be music playing while we do this. A little light jazz or something to...
I've got a new track of Seasick Steve, which is great. He makes his own instruments.
Something to fill the void. Okay, the next thing we need is sugar. And I've... see that? I almost made a mistake. We added too much sugar. 18 ounces of sugar is all we need. Because it's a half batch. So we'll go to 18 ounces of sugar. We'll zero out the scale. 18 ounces is 1 pound, 2 ounces, correct? Oh, it's a sharp class today.
So you can do a half batch in either of these machines?
You can
do a
on
half
the
batch.
you can on the 24, 44, and well, they can hear me. You can on the 24. The big floor models, you can do a half batch. He's not doing a half batch. He's doing just referring to it as a half batch. It's a 12-quart machine. So he's putting in a full batch for the 12-quart. But you can do a half batch in the 12, you can do a half batch in the 24 and the 44.
I thought I read somewhere you could not.
Not in the countertop machines. They have to be
Not in
full.
this one or the little one over there.
Okay.
Yeah.
These have a minimum, and it's just one size batch no matter what you make.
And you wouldn't do it anyway because, first of all, you'd get only less than a gallon out of it, and you don't want that. And also, when you're trying to come up with a recipe, I teach you a way to do it on the counter so that you're sure what you're making instead of practicing in the machine. And some people call them test batches. You don't have to do test batches. All right, we're going to turn the machine on. There's just the mix in here. So we'll turn the machine on, we'll go to homemade, we'll start it up, and that's just the mix in there, the ice cream dairy blend. Now we'll add the sugar. I know.
God, Jeff, the reason why he says I know is because Steve can't stand it when anybody adds straight sugar to the machine. When you do that, the sugar acts like sandpaper, and it's wearing on your blades. Is it going to wear it down to where you need to get new blades in 2 weeks? No. instead of the blades lasting 5 years, it'll last you 4 years.
And truth be known, instead of the blades lasting 40 years, they'll last 30 years.
So basically, do not add the sugar until after you've added.
Well, let's not make that a written in stone, because I've been doing this for 15 years, and this is how I do it. Have I ever replaced my blades? Let's see, no. This is the greatest mixer in the world. You know how you have a KitchenAid? You put the bowl and you put the thing goes in. This is 100 times better than that. So it's okay.
It's no secret that Jeff and I disagree on everything. And the machine is such a wonderful mixer that there is no reason to put stuff in there and just let it mix for 3 or 5 minutes. Because in the first, if you've got an 8-minute freezing process, the first 2 or 3 minutes, it's basically liquid coming down to temperature. So even with the freezer on, it's mixing. However, I gave up trying to change Jeff, so we changed the machine. There's a timer on the infinite overrun control, and it used to start the second you turned it on. So Jeff's letting it mix, and he's talking, and he's telling stories, and he's talking about his new handlebar mustache, and the whole
didn't
thing's
take
going on,
5
and nothing's happening. We're just wasting time.
Like right now, he's standing there.
Talk about
listening.
wasting
That's right,
time.
wasting time. Well, that's my job to waste time. And so the machine is counting up that it's been on for 2 or 3 minutes. So I couldn't change Jeff, so I changed the timer. Now that timer is not going to start recording until you hit the freeze button. So
Are you done?
you were also right about the sugar, but that's another story.
Okay, this recipe, so we have the mix and the sugar. Let's add some lemon juice. 16 ounces of lemon juice.
Is that your half?
Yes, that is the correct amount.
So you'd normally put in a quart on a 24-quart machine?
Yes, that's correct. Actually, yes, 32 ounces in a regular batch. 24.
Yeah, 12 quart.
So 16 ounces is, it's not on here. Oh gosh, the conditions I have to work with.
Well,
There we go.
there's 8 ounces in a
Okay.
cup, so
Well,
16 ounces is 2
At least
cups.
you can read this. Look, you can't
That's
read.
just,
Look,
that's
can
just
you
math,
read that?
math. 8 ounces
You know how old
in a
this
cup.
is? Older than Steve.
Let's use that.
I'll
Hey,
do it.
Jeff, you remember how we make fun of executive chefs? I think we have met the enemy, and he is us.
Okay, so we'll add 16 ounces of this.
Or 2 cups.
That's 8. And 8.
So you don't have to like rush to do all this, right?
He doesn't, that's for sure. Me, I don't stand and make love to the machine. I come in, I make my ice cream or my ices, and I get going.
See, when I teach my class, there's a few reasons we get into this business. One of the reasons, one of my high reasons, is art. I like to create, I like to play, I like to have fun. Of course, when you're busy, you get in the morning, you make your ice cream, you go home. But like today, this is a play day for me because I don't care. So we're going to add Duncan Hines lemon pie filling.
I can smell it from here over.
Yeah, it's good stuff. So we'll add this right in here. All the ingredients, there's more of them over there if you want to shoot them with your camera or take a look at them or whatever. That's everything I'm using today is there.
We used to make 14 flavors in this class a day. Now we're down to, he's slowing down, enjoying the artiste.
I like to slow down. When you're young and you're interested in only money, you work fast.
I guess I'll be
Oh,
forever
thanks.
young.
Yeah, but the good thing is, after you're in this business a few years, money is insignificant because you get all you want. It's true. During the break, you can come up and look at the machines, and you can see how nice and big this spout is here. And believe me, I investigated a lot of machines, and trying to get a lot of volume into a little spout, which most of them is ridiculous. This is a pleasure. We'll shoot it down there. And I think we're good to go. Now what I do is before, any spoons here?
You want spoons now?
Spoons? Before I turn on the refrigeration, and this is true of every batch of ice cream I make, before I turn on the refrigeration, I taste it. And, right? And we've amended it many times. Needs a little more sugar, needs a little more lemon, needs a whatever it is. And even if it's too lemony or too sugary, what would you do to solve that problem before you turn it on? Correct. Good girl. Add more mix. So I'm going to give it a taste now. And let you know that it's astounding. The other thing we can add to this, you don't have to, but since it's listed as lemon crunch on your papers there, we'll turn the refrigeration on. I always also listen for the compressor to kick in, and I make sure that the water is coming into the sink. This is a water-cooled machine. A water line brings the water into it, and then a water line comes out.
I'm good.
And it should start to, oh, Steve?
Yeah.
Okay, there's the water. So now that the flow is fine and you've tasted it, you're good to go. And you can relax a little bit mentally. Now we'll add some cookies to it to give it a little bit crunch. So we'll add, I don't know how many. You guys tell me when to stop.
Are you going to add half in and half as it's coming out?
Well, we could do that. No, I don't add them when they come out, but I sometimes add them halfway through so they don't break up as much. I don't like to do that when they're coming out.
Okay.
I know you do, and most people do. I'm not most people.
But the point is, the opening is, other machines have a large opening like this that narrows down to a ½ inch, so you can't get a cookie in. They don't want you to put a cookie in, or nuts or candies, because their beater system isn't strong enough to handle the extra load. Our opening is like that all the way down through the machine. So you'll see us today dumping in bananas, cookies, nuts, anything we want right into the machine. Alcohol, we can put alcohol in. Everybody else has to add it later because they don't have enough refrigeration power. But that's a key factor because we want to get as much ice cream made in an hour as we possibly can. So everything is designed to make it fast and efficient.
Okay, now that everything's in there, we have nothing to do for about 5 minutes.
So maybe we have some questions. Anybody have any questions so far? Yes, sir.
Was that 14%?
This is what the
10%.
question was. I'm going to answer or repeat the question just in case the mics don't pick it up. The question was, what's the butterfat content of this bag? It's 10%, which is the federal minimum to call it ice cream. By perspective, Haagen-Dazs, customer I helped put into business, is 16%. Ben & Jerry, who we did, is 16%. Everything's going to fall within that range. And you think, well, 10, 12, what difference does it make? Well, if you go to the supermarket and you pick up whole milk, that's 4% fat. If you get low-fat milk, it's 2% fat. And you know there's a world of taste difference between whole milk and low-fat milk. And then skim milk is either 1% or 0. So a 1 or 2% change makes a big difference. So why am I running the lowest grade there is? To me, from my have found out over the years, it depends on where you are in the country and what the customs are. If you're up in Wisconsin, the dairy state, probably going to run a 14% butter fat. because they like it a higher fat, and in colder climates it does well. 14 or 16% in Florida with 90 degrees and 100% humidity, it's like eating a big Ruth Chris lunch, you know, a couple of filet mignons, and then going out in this 90-degree heat. You're going to start sweating. It might upset your stomach because of the high fat content. So if I'm going to use a low-fat product, I'm going to compensate for it with more flavor. Nobody ever walked out of an ice cream parlor and said, "Oh, that's the best fat content I ever ate. I love it. I can't wait to come back tomorrow." They don't say that. They say the mint chip was really minty and the chips weren't chalky. People eat flavor. So the dairy is the carrier. It's what's going to make us surprised. I'll be right with you. Now in Manhattan, where I'm from, I said I use 14 in Wisconsin. If I'm in New York, I'm probably going to run 16. Not because I think 16 is better, but because Christi's got a store in Manhattan. She's running 14%. And I want the bragging rights. I'm the richest ice cream in Manhattan. And so I'm going to run 16. That's the only justification for it. So the old expression, too much is never enough. Well, in ice cream, that's not true. The higher the fat, the more you've got to cut through it with flavor. And at the same time, the lower the fat, you want the flavor, again, to be the important thing. Yes, you had a question.
So, I understood you to say that if you add alcohol, that the machine, something with the temperature of the machine.
The alcohol, alcohol never freezes. I think the freezing point is something like minus 243. So you can put a bottle of vodka in your freezer at home and it won't freeze. It'll just get really cold and a little thicker. So our machines have enough freezing capacity going through the cylinder that the alcohol will never freeze, but it will stay in suspension. Any other book you read on ice cream making alcohol, they're going to say once the ice cream's made, you're making rum, bourbon, rum, vanilla. You make your vanilla, and as it's coming out, you pour in your bourbon. Well, that doesn't really make for a good ice cream because it's not an even blend. If we can put it into the machine and it stays in suspension, we're going to have a much better alcohol ice cream. Same with sorbets. Now, the only little trick to it is in your serving freezer, whether it's a chest freezer like Jeff uses or a dipping cabinet. If this was my dipping cabinet, this is wrapped all the way around. Am I burning good time?
Oh, you're doing great.
This is wrapped all the way around in refrigeration coils. So the sides get cold. Every side gets cold. So if this box is set at 6 degrees Fahrenheit, that's the temperature right here with a couple of coils going by. But over here, there's a couple of coils here and a couple of coils here. So this 6-degree box is actually colder in the four corners. So I'm going to put my high sugar content ice creams, which are harder to keep cold, in the four corners, and or my alcohol flavors in the four corners to get an even scooping. You ever go to an ice cream parlor and you see the server scooping this one easily and another one fighting with it? The owner doesn't know that trick, that the four corners are colder than the center of the box. It's just that simple. But everything can go into the Emery Thompson.
And now, the most popular question at this point is, when do we take it out?
So I can get this one.
And that's judgmental. He takes it out later, I take it out earlier, Christi takes it out right in the middle. I didn't mean it that way.
That's right. And it makes no difference.
All right, let's check it out. It's still a little soupy, but it's getting real close.
Well, remember the last seminar, you told people why you like to pull yours a little bit thinner than most do?
And why is that?
Well, I'm going to give your spiel. All right, so he likes to pull his a little bit thinner for the fact that it layers a lot more evenly in your container, and it settles, so you don't have a lot of air pockets. And if you pull it thick, you have to take your container and give it a couple bangs to just settle it all down.
You just have to be careful with inclusions. Inclusions being nuts, chips, raisins, berries, because if you pull it too soon with that, it'll settle. Because when you put this in your freezer, it takes a little time and they might settle. So there's a line there, and you'll get that after 3 days. After you make 2 batches of ice cream, you'll know.
When you put it in the pan, what are your steps for freezing and then getting it to the dipping cabinet? What are your steps?
What's the question?
The question is, what are the different temperatures that we're keeping it at to get it frozen down?
Oh, you can answer that.
You want to do it with the hardening cabinet?
Well, you're better at the hardening cabinet. That's more my thing.
Jeff does it by using a Sears chest freezer. We're trying to get people oftentimes into business for the least amount of money. Because if you're 35 years old and you want to go into business, no bank is going to loan you money. You know, I'm a little older than 35, and no bank is still going to loan me money. They're just not loaning money. So we're looking for a lower priced way to do it. And the start off way, to answer your question, is with a CB350. And over in the corner of this room is a couple of Sears white chest freezers. They're about almost 6 feet long, 5.5. We turn them all the way cold, and we make the ice cream, and we put it in there, and it'll harden overnight down to 10 below. If we need to do a larger volume and faster, you ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
If we need to do a larger volume and faster, we're going to go to our new hardening cabinet, which is 25 below. And with the chest freezer, you can fill it up, like in this box. This is my chest freezer. I can fill it up 1/3 today, and it'll freeze the ice cream. Tomorrow, another third, and another third. That's all it's capable of without the temperature rising. If I use this, I can fill the whole box up in an hour, and it'll still stay super, super cold. So it's a matter of what you have to work with. But the idea is get it rock hard, leave it there, or then move it to your dipping cabinets depending on the weather, you know, how much you need today. Christi's going to serve this up, and we'll pass it around to you to try.
The hardest part about doing this is not licking your fingers.
Yes.
What is the shelf life for the bladders of mix?
The shelf life of what?
The bladder.
What's the shelf life of the bladder? About 10 days to 2 weeks once you, if it's liquid. We're only making ice cream every other month for these classes, and so I get an order in and I freeze it. And then 3 days in advance, I take it out and move it to the refrigerator to thaw. Their shelf life is, 4 months, 5 months, somewhere around there. But from when you get it, 10 days is a good benchmark of how long you can keep it refrigerated.
What supplier? Where do you get that?
It comes out of local dairies all over the country and all over the world,
All
depending
you
on...
really have to do is Google your zip code, comma, ice cream mix, or dairies, and they'll give you all of them within a radius.
I didn't know that.
You're more than welcome
That's a
to
good
also
trick.
give us a call because we have a list
That's
of
what I tell
dairies that are
everybody. It
in your
works.
state and near you. And if none of those dairies can service you, we have even more dairy suppliers in the surrounding states that are next to you because they can always ship. Sometimes it gets costly, but shipping is an option.
So the products are readily available, and it's put together. You could make your own mix, but the problem is you're going to have the federal government, the FDA, in your store all the time, because now you're going to be considered a dairy. So you're going to have to buy the ingredients, and that's the hardest part. Try buying 50 gallons of heavy cream. You buy cream; it's in a half-pint container in the supermarket. So just getting the ingredients will be hard. And then, not to be too cynical, but you need to know what's the difference between a Holstein, a Jersey, and a Guernsey cow as far as fat output. It varies from 29 to 34%. You then need to know that a cow varies between winter and summer as far as fat output. So if you've got a dairy doing it for you, they're balancing this all year round, dairy scientists, so that what you get in January is the same as what you're going to get in July. Yes, sir.
Just to add on to that, what you said earlier, if you freeze that, does it do anything at all? I mean, in your own stores, would you do that? Does it do anything to the quality of the mix when you thaw it a month later and use it? Like I wouldn't freeze a steak.
Yeah, you're putting me on the spot because talking to a dairy years ago, the dairyman said, I would never freeze mix. That's like opening up a Pepsi and putting it in the fridge and tomorrow it's going to be flat. And then he went nationwide And he said, he's shipping it all over the country. He said, oh, it's great. It's so easy. It makes no difference. I'll leave that up to you. I always like to deal with fresh rather than having to go through the hassle of 3 days in advance putting it in the refrigerator. And the problem with freezing mix is if there's one little particle of ice in here that didn't thaw, it's going right into the machine and it's coming right out again as ice in your ice cream. So working with it within the 10 days is great. If you have no other choice, buying it and freezing it is better than using some powdered mix from Italy. The Italians don't have dairies the way we do. They have beef cattle, but they don't have dairies, so their mix comes as a powder. The cows are in Argentina. They're milked in Argentina. It's put through a machine called a spray dryer that was invented by another family friend of mine. It turns it into a powder. They ship it to Bologna, where it's packaged up in these nice foil bags, shipped to the Port of Elizabeth, and then shipped to you in Iowa. This stuff's got more sky miles than I do. And you can't beat it
Now,
coming out
that
of...
being said, sometimes that's your only alternative. I have
Yeah,
people in
that's
my
true.
class from all over the world, and many of them can't get this, the bladders. So I give them two options. Fabry, right?
Yeah,
Fabry makes a powdered mix.
and it's good.
And so does the Amish people. They make one out of Pennsylvania. They make a powdered mix also. And if that's your alternative, so be it. Don't forget, you're adding tremendous amount of flavor to your ice cream. So the fact that, of course, that's preferred, but if I had to open an ice cream store in Singapore, I would buy the powdered mix.
I agree. It's all a matter of what's available to you. We used to ask people, which I realized was the wrong question, because we're asking to hear accolades about how great we are. We would say, how do you like the ice cream? Well, we've gotten older and wiser, Jeff and I and Christi, and now we say, what would you change different? Is there anything in what you're eating right now that you would do differently? Anybody have any comments on what they think? How was the lemon level? Was it good? Did it have enough
Why don't
cookies?
you taste it?
A little bit more crunch.
A little more crunch? Okay, I will taste it.
Also, what you can do with this in the store, we keep a big supply of, here, right there. We keep a big supply of the 99-cent pie bases. You know, in Walmart, they have Oreo pie bases and graham cracker, and they're 99 cents. And we fill them after we fill our quota of ice cream. We take what's left, make a pie or two, put the plastic on it, label it lemon, put it in the freezer, and we sell those for $10. And they fly out, and there's all flavors. I'll even take requests for flavors because I know I'm going to make something in the next week that they'll want. So it's a good thing to do, and this tastes like a pie, doesn't it? I mean, it is.
It is delicious.
Could be a pie.
So let me ask you a question. You take requests. What if I wanted to take this delicious lemon ice cream and make it lemon crunch? What would you use for crunch?
There is a universal crunch that I use. It's sitting right there on the table, and those are crushed Heath bar pieces. And I go through, I don't know, 8-10 bags a week like this. These are 8-pound bags. This is a great crunch. You can change the crunch. They're real. You'll see later. We're going to use this. You can even make it smaller crunch using the Ninja. So this is one of my go-to crunches. In this ice cream, you can also take the lemon cookies, throw them in the Ninja, pulse them a little bit, throw that in the ice cream. Some of you got pieces of cookie in there, right? Yeah. Because I added halfway through, I broke them up and threw them in. And you can do more or less. There's the art. There's the art. You can have my recipes, and you notice in my recipe, all the ingredients are precise except the cookies, because that's up to you. And that's what's going to make your reputation as the best ice cream maker in the world, because you may want a lot of crunch. You may want it to be really crunchy. You may want it to be smooth and velvety. So that's going to be the difference in your ice cream stores. And that's the art of ice cream.
Now the next flavor I'm going to make is a cookie ice cream. And I have a different approach to it, which you'll see on how I handle the cookies. I'm just debating that with the lemon in here, often what you want to do with your ice cream flavors is start light and work down, so you don't even have to bother rinsing the machine. I guess I'll put just a light rinse through this, because if a little bit of lemon or a cookie or something got into my next flavor, it's not going to matter at all, because I'm doing a cookie ice cream. If I was going from chocolate to vanilla, I'd put a couple of rinses through here. It would take me less than 3 minutes, and I'd be ready to go again. But you don't plan, you plan your production. So if I was doing fruit flavors today, I would do strawberry, and then I would do raspberry, and then I would do Bordeaux cherry. All three are fruit, and each one is a little darker than the next, so the little half pint of ice cream that he's getting out that's left in there is going to be blended into it, and you'll never notice. The key thing about making fruit flavors, which I don't think we're doing today, no, Christi is. The thing about fruit flavors is if I'm making you a strawberry ice cream, since we're not using any red dye 40 or other artificial ingredients, you might look at a strawberry ice cream and you taste it and you say, oh, that's delicious, what is it? Well, that's the worst words I can ever hear. It's delicious, but what is it? I didn't flavor it enough so that you know that it's raspberry instead of strawberry. So that's always going to be key. I don't mind putting a little sign, the two flavors look alike in the dipping cabinet, but one says strawberry, one says raspberry, and they better have a distinctly different taste. It's all about the flavor. And one other thing on that, Jeff taught me, I used to buy cans and cans of, this is called a number 10 tin. Oops. And this is what the industry calls a number 10 tin. And before the millennial age group came along, the way I made ice cream, and we got $2.25 because we were afraid to go any higher or you'd go buy Breyers, is we would open up this can of strawberries, and this would be the lowest grade strawberries that they couldn't sell anywhere else, with red dye 40 in it, corn syrup instead of cane sugar because it might save half a penny. And we poured that into the machine. We called that strawberry ice cream. Nowadays, I would never do it that way. I would go to the supermarket, I would buy frozen strawberries, thaw them out, put them in the machine, maybe add an all-natural strawberry extract to give it a little jolt, because strawberry isn't a terribly strong flavor. But that's how we make ice cream today. And we're getting, closer to $4 or $5 for a scoop of ice cream. And people will pay it because it's the best they've ever had. So I'm going to make my cookie. And if Christi, you'll help me.
Yes, sir.
Now, when you saw Jeff at the very beginning, he came over and he closed the gate. And you're going, why is he doing that? It doesn't make sense. Well, look what we did. The last thing we did was take the ice cream out of the machine. And so now we're real busy. We got a lot of things going on. We're going to pour the mix into the machine, and it's going all over the floor, and you're cursing Steve Thompson and Emery Thompson because the damn machine leaks. And it doesn't leak. You forgot to close the gate. So just out of habit, anytime you walk past a machine, just go like that. People will think you're a little nutty, but what you're doing is you're making sure the gate's closed.
Do you want to rinse?
I'm going to put one rinse through.
I'll rinse.
Thanks. I'm going to measure out my mix. So let me get the formula. It's in my office. I'll be right back. I'll get you the formula for this. Hi.
Okay. I didn't know.
They're so high maintenance.
What do they add to the splatter of mix at the dairy exactly?
It has milk, cream, sugar, and I think some preservatives to keep it fresh. I'm not really sure. That's the least of my worries. And that's another big thing is people go, oh, well, I want to make my mix. And like you heard Steve say, you get everybody involved in it. And then they say, well, I feel that if I don't make my own mix, it's not really homemade. I said, okay, if you make a homemade cake, do you go out to the flour mill and grind your own flour, or do you buy the flour? Well, I buy the flour. Okay, but it's still a homemade cake.
This is the formula of what we're going to make next. Okay, Stella, come on. Let's go find Paula. Come on, Sammy. Sammy's not too easy.
Whenever rinsing your machine, don't ever use hot or even really warm water.
Come on.
Stick with cold water, because your cylinder is already cold, and if you add hot water to it, you can create some hot spots, dead spots, and at certain points in your cylinder won't freeze anymore.
See you later.
You just want one rinse?
That's all.
Okay.
Because his cookie ice cream, if a little bit got in, won't matter.
So there's no reason to have a pasteurizer.
No, the
No.
mix is already pasteurized, homogenized.
That's already done.
Yeah, you don't have to be bothered with any of that. And it's done by professionals. Quite frankly, we're not dairy professionals. And the product does change even from suppliers. And as I tell people, McDonald's is a lousy hamburger. But when you go through the Golden Arches, whether you're in New York or Moscow or Istanbul, you know what you're getting. It's the same lousy hamburger everywhere, and you chose to go through the doors and buy it. And we've got a great customer, Four Seas Ice Cream, up in Cape Cod. Paula and I might go visit them once every 2 years, and I love his mint chip, and it's been burned in my brain what it tastes like. And so when I get there 2 years from now or this summer, it better taste just like I remember it. And also, because we're Americans and we demand everything all the time, they better not be out. They can't run out. Over in Italy, you walk in, it's 10 o'clock in the morning and you want a tiramisu. Oh, I'm sorry, we ran out at 9:30. Come back tomorrow. And you shrug your shoulders over in Italy and say, well, it doesn't matter, there's another gelateria half a block away. But in America, it's our store, we take possession of it. I don't own Jeff's store in Daytona Beach, but when I go to Daytona Beach, I say, I'm going to my ice cream parlor. Or you know, Steve, you look a little ratty getting off the plane, why don't you take your blazer and take it to my dry cleaner? And tonight I'm going to take you to my Italian restaurant. We don't own them, but we mentally take possession. So we can't run out of product, and we have to have it all the time. We're going to do the 5 quarts of mix. I need a tablespoon.
Okay.
Thanks. You don't have to go through the mix. No, I don't, because you already did for the first batch. So I'm going to grab it by the neck, like Jeff said, pull off the cap. You ever drop an egg on the floor and try to clean it up in your kitchen? Multiply it by 1,000, and that's a bag of mix. I'm going to just lift up the gate.
We get super fancy around here.
Now, those of you watching on YouTube, the recipe is right up there at emerythompson.com under one heading, and then in another head, and you click on it, and it'll take you to this video. So that makes it easy. Sorry. I'm going to put in 2 ounces of vanilla. I prefer Lockhead. It's a family business. It's been around forever.
Darren is the greatest guy. You can't meet anyone else so humble as he is. He does a great job of making sure people understand the vanilla and how many different, I think he said there's over 100 different varieties of vanilla that you can get. And this is Steve's favorite. And they grow their vanilla in Madagascar. So they have a couple plants over there where they grow it, and they do a lot for their community too. So not only are you buying great vanilla, they're also supporting a company that does what is it that they do over there? I think it's with water, Clean Water Act or something like that.
Okay, I've got my blend, my mix. I lost the recipe. I made this for Christmas, and lost the recipe, so we're winging it at the moment. We're going to say 5 to 7 tablespoons of organic cinnamon. And I had that, Christi, out here somewhere. Thank you.
That's allulose, isn't it?
Got it.
No? Oh,
No.
okay.
And so we're gonna do a Jeff Markow. We're gonna put some in and taste it, and then see how it is. Normally I do everything mathematically.
I'll start breaking your cookies.
Okay, just half.
Correct.
The times have changed.
One, 2, 3, 4. This is, I got this from Amazon. This is classic. It says cinnamon powder, organic. I don't think the organic matters to me on cinnamon, but there it is. It's good for marketing. And so I am going to use, I like to use these squeeze cups. This is what we use to sell Italian ice in New York. We call it a squeeze cup, and what you do is you put the Italian ice in here, you crown it over, so it's a 3.5 ounce cup. Once you crown it over, it's 4 ounces, and we squeeze it up and eat it from the bottom. It's a lot of fun, and very, very inexpensive. If you ask anyone outside of the west of the Hudson River for squeeze cups, your paper supplier, they'll look at you with the deer in the headlights. It's called a pleated water cup. Pleated water cup, and they're made by Solo, which is where Christi came from. Before she was doing this, she was running production lines making beer cups, overseeing the machinery that made beer cups. So Christi has a mechanical background before she got into sales with us.
What's a beer cup?
It's just
something you drink beer out of.
like when you go to
The red
theme
cups?
parks.
You know the red cups?
Red Solo cup.
A red Solo
I fill
cup.
you up.
It's a country song.
Well, it wasn't the red Solo cup, but you go to an event or a theme park and you get a beer and it's got Bud Light all over it. Can I say that?
Yes, you
Well,
can.
I just did.
We can say anything.
Anyways, so there's a whole science behind it. If there's
Can
too
I
much,
say I don't drink beer?
well,
Okay.
I don't either.
Well, you can have water in it. We have some in there.
Then
I don't
they're
like beer
water
either.
cups.
Tastes good to me.
Perfect. Mm-hmm. Okay, that
I
was
think.
that was. If you want to adjust your formula, that was 5 tablespoons. Mm-hmm. 5 heaping tablespoons of the cinnamon. So we've got those ingredients in. I'm going to turn this on, and I'm going to turn on the refrigeration right away. Now I'm freezing. I'm getting working. Since nothing's going to happen for the first 2 or 3 minutes, I have sugar cookies that I've purchased from our supermarket, and I'm going to throw them in whole, and it's going to grind them up. Actually, they're so big, I'll just break them in half.
Little on the floor doesn't matter.
Were you eating them?
No,
No, that's for when it's coming out.
they're a little too big for that.
No, they're perfect. I had a father call me, and he had 3 children, and the 5-year-old was saying to the 2-year-old, he was using my videos like Sesame Street. We all remember that. Greatest babysitter ever to come along. And so he's got Saturday duty, and he's got the kids in the TV room, and they're watching Emery Thompson videos. And the 5-year-old says to the 3-year-old, he repeats me, I'm doing this exact same thing, and he goes, and the little kid says to the younger little kid, now don't try this with a Taylor machine because it won't work. And I'm going, wow, I'm Sesame Street, I've made it.
Now, Steve's only breaking the cookies up because they're just extra wide. If the cookies were, in the width to where you could put them in just straight like Jeff did with the Oreos, that's completely fine.
And now I'm showing off, I'm doing 2 at a time.
Whoa.
And there are enough cookies in this formula so that the ice cream maker can have 2 whole cookies just to test their freshness, just so you know. But when Jeff said he tests every batch beforehand, let me just warn you about that. If Jeff makes 30 batches today, he has now consumed 30 ounces of ice cream. You don't want to be eating 30 ounces of ice cream every day of your life.
Be thy not thy brother's keeper.
Huh?
Nothing.
Okay. So anyway, just be warned, be careful. Don't fall in love with your own product.
Fall in love with your product.
Now, all the time that someone else in this room might be preparing their ice cream with the refrigeration off, mine's freezing. I'm already 2 minutes and 19 seconds into the batch, and they're all going to blend perfectly. So I came up with two terms using actually strawberries. So let's pretend these are strawberries. I call it my fruit flavor and my fruit identity. No other machine can you put all these ingredients in like this, so that when you taste the ice cream, if you were blindfolded right now and taste it, you say, yep, that's sugar cookie ice cream. You take the blindfold off though and you go, where are the cookies? I don't see any cookies. So my fruit flavor, my strawberry or sugar cookie, is in the machine. It's every particle of dairy now has a particle of sugar cookie next to it. But where's the looks? We eat with our eyes. So I'm going to add the pieces of cookies as it's coming out, so that when you're eating the ice cream, you also get a piece of cookie. I think it makes for a much better flavor. Haagen-Dazs, as I mentioned before, I helped put him in business. That was Reuben Madison, his mother, about 6 miles from our Bronx factory. And they were using batch freezers, Emery Thompsons, from their start for many years. Then they went national and they went to a different type of machine called a continuous freezer. It's about $1 million by the time you set it all up with the tanks and everything else. And the ice cream changes. It becomes a commercial grade ice cream now. Now the only thing that machine can do is vanilla ice cream, and it has another $40,000 machine out here that injects strawberries. It may look like strawberry ice cream, but it's vanilla ice cream with strawberries added to it. We have, with our batch freezer, for every particle of dairy, a particle of strawberry. So the original Haagen-Dazs, which is a great ice cream today, I think one of the best commercial ice creams on the market, same with Ben & Jerry's, same scenario, still can't top what you're doing, homemade. So we'll save that for Paula, or throw it in the trash.
Paula recycles everything. You have to throw stuff out without her looking.
Even I'm recycled.
Oh yeah.
Any questions? You can see how easy this is. The one comment that the three of us always hear when they look at the videos is, I can't believe how easy it is. It can't be that easy. But it really is. And in no time at all, you'll have your flavors down to a 3x5 file card. You buy Jeff's book, which has got the recipes in it, Mystic Ice Cream Original Recipes. You have our videos. Now we just did one. Now we're at 457. This is 458. We're getting there. To go and look at the videos and also the formulas. And then you'll change it. Hi to you too. What? Emery Thompson. Yes, that's where we are. Oh, I'll get to that later. Shameless. Now I lost my train of thought.
Talking about easy it is, and you'll develop your own flavors, and then you'll change it.
Yeah, to me, making ice cream is mathematical. To Jeff, it's an art. To me, it's mathematics. If I had to bake a birthday cake, let me see what my time is. I'm at 5:43. I'm good. If I had to bake a birthday cake, and I don't bake, I don't know anything about it, I would get The Joy of Cooking or Betty Crocker or some other cookbook, and it would say add this much flour, this much water, this much sugar, and this much lemon for a lemon cake. And I'd follow the recipe, and I'd have a great birthday cake. Now, if I want to go into Steve Thompson's house of birthday cakes, I'm probably going to change up the formula. So what can I do? Add more water? No, it'll be soupy. Add more flour? It'll be dry. Add more sugar? Sure, I'm like Ben Cohen at Ben & Jerry's. This guy's got a terrible sweet tooth, so his ice cream's sweeter than Haagen-Dazs. I can add more sugar, and I can adjust the flavor. So when you're making ice cream, and it's a 12-quart machine, you're going to put 5 quarts of mix in. That's a given. And then you're going to add a certain amount of flavor. So there isn't that much to adjust to come up with your secret formula. And it's that easy. So if you told me I had to make, Christi made pickle Italian ice last fall,
That was good.
And
I don't care what anybody says.
Christy's got a machine at home at Emery Thompson. I don't have a machine at home, but Christy does. And my wife's office is bigger than mine too. But Christy came up and did 2 or 3 batches until she and her husband Mickey came up with the perfect flavor. And then it was Mickey who sold it because, I mean, really, how are you going to sell pickled Italian ice except in West Texas? Mickey came up with, he did bacon that was so flat. It was flatter than the Sahara Desert. I mean, it was beautiful. And so here you've got this product that nobody wants, and Christy comes along and sticks a piece of bacon in it. Now it's everybody's favorite Italian ice because it's got bacon. And that's sometimes all it is, you know.
And you know, everybody in the audience that tried it, they were very, very surprised. It was the Clausen pickles and sugar, and then a strip of bacon put into it. And they were using the bacon as a spoon to eat the Italian ice and then eat the bacon at the same time. Jeff was repulsed by it, but that's Jeff. He's plain Jane, basic, simple, go out the door and you're done.
I was repulsed by it too, but the
He's
bacon was
repulsed
great.
by everything.
The bacon was great.
Bacon is always saving grace.
It is.
You can't lose the bacon.
It was definitely very different. It's not something I would eat every single time I go to an Italian ice or ice cream store, but you have that on your menu outside your door, or you just come up with anything crazy, whether it's sriracha mango ice or sriracha mango ice cream or pickle Italian ice, and put it outside your door. People go, what? I want to try that. Or even if they don't want to try it, they get in the door, they see your other flavors. Okay, I'll take butter pecan. So even just doing something like that to draw people in, you can. Jeff disagrees, but he puts
Or they'll come
caramel
in and
crunch.
they'll tell their friends, that place is too wacky for me.
Coming from the guy with a disco ball on his ceiling in his ice cream store. Too wacko, yeah? Okay.
Okay, this is ready. I'll show you how. Open it, close it, cuts it off like a knife went through it. That's simple. Open, close, knife. Now, I'm going to turn off the refrigeration switch. I don't want it to get any colder. You want to mix it for me?
Oh, I'm mixing or I'm extracting?
I'm extracting, you're mixing.
So then I need that.
Oh,
No,
that
you just
worked
need
well.
a spatula or a spoon. There you go. So Christy's just going to mix it around a little bit. I'm going to throw in some more cookies. This is a different take on the 2.5 gallon tub. These are nice to bribe, the judge with, or give to friends. And so I'm just going to take some ice cream out of here, about like this. And then I'll throw in cookies, and Christy will just stir it around a little bit. The nice thing about the smaller containers, if you do any wholesale going to a restaurant, these big round tubs take up a lot of space in the freezer. You got one tub, whereas I could have 1, 2, 3, 4 of these in the same space. So I can give the chef more flavors in the same amount of freezing space. Why do we care about freezing space? Because rent is going up. And as rent goes up, the owner says, I can't make the store any bigger, but if I had 10 more tables or 6 more tables, I could bring in more revenue. Therefore, excuse me, executive chef, I'm going to shrink your kitchen from here to here. And so I can put more tables out front. And now he doesn't have enough room to buy Haagen-Dazs, and that we'll leave it on top like that. So if you'll show them just how pretty that looks.
The ice cream, not me.
And this is a one-person act. You don't need 2 people to do it. I'm just trying to speed things up because our partner over there takes so much time. And when you're first doing this, have an extra bag of cookies on hand that you've already broken up and you just put in a container you could put in the fridge, because you'll be heavy-handed on the first tub and then you run out for the second tub. So it's just an easy way to compensate for it. And that's going to be about it, isn't it? Mm-hmm. We're getting down to a controversial point here, and that is we have cookie dust. I could still use this because Christy broke them up big, but with Oreo cookies and some others, you end up with cookie dust. And let's say it's Oreo cookie ice cream. People's tendency is you got a tub and you pour the cookie dust on top. Well, I'm from New York, so anything that's moving other than a human is a cockroach, and anything that is on here that is dark in color and powdery is dirt. So don't be tempted to throw the cookie dust, on top. It just doesn't look that good. And that's it. Look how fast that was. If there's any left over here, I'll send it out to the office. Any questions on this one? I think you'll like the taste of it. We found out, and unfortunately you won't be here, that after it goes through the hardening phase, the cinnamon flavor intensifies. I see that a lot. You make a vanilla ice cream and you taste it, and I ask you how it is, and the audience says, it's good, but you could have used a little more vanilla. Wait till tomorrow, the flavor will enhance, the vanilla extract will enhance, and the flavor will be stronger. The cinnamon does the same thing. I don't know why, but it just does. So you can't judge your ice cream until it's been through the hardening phase.
It's probably the protein in the dairy that absorbs it.
Can you add too much liquid to the mix to offset it freezing of anything? Can you add too much liquid of anything?
Yeah, good question. I'm going to take that, Christy. I had a guy call me yesterday. I was going to save it for our new feature on Monday, where Christy and I are going to take 10 minutes and answer people's questions. And the guy, Jeff, taught me about this, Tyranny flavors. They're really great. They're syrups, and they're really sugary. There's a lot of sugar in this flavor. And so the guy has got a CB350, and he says, I've had it now for 10 months. Everything's great. Every batch is flawless. I've got lines out the street. But last night I made a batch using the Tyranny syrup, and the stuff, all the flavor bled to the bottom of the can. He was making an ice. And I said, what's your formula? And he told me he took this whole bottle and put it in here. This whole bottle, the formula goes for not this size machine, but the next up, the 24 quart. So he had 4 times as much sugar syrup in his, he said it tasted great. I said, you must be like, Ben and Jerry's. You burned out your taste buds at college doing acid. He had way too much of this stuff in there. This should have been a cup or at most a pint into there. He put the whole bottle in. So yes, you can overdo it, but it's probably a flaw in your formula. But Jeff's idea is also good. I hadn't thought of that before, so I learned something new today, which I love doing. Jeff asked the question, what do you do if you've put an ingredient in and all of a sudden it's too strong? And I go, I don't know. And Jeff said it's simple. Add more mix. So if you screw it up, compensate for it. But please write it down on your formula and number or label somehow your container, because when you hit your perfect formula, you're going to go, boy, this is great. This is the best of the 6. Oh, which one was this? You want to know. So I'm out on that one. And who's next? Jeff is next.
Really?
I think so. Did we want to take a break? Does anybody need a bathroom break?
That's what was on here.
That's what we usually
Coffee
do, yes? Break. Okay, 5 minutes and we'll come back.
The next flavor is caramel crunch. And see these little cans here? This is what we're going to use. This is dulce de leche, which is really just sweetened condensed milk simmered over the stove till it becomes this. You can do that at home. I used to do it, but then I discovered Nestle's dulce de leche, and it's astounding. However, since it's in these little cans, and it would be kind of cumbersome to put them in the top, each can, what I think we'll do is we'll get a bucket. The recipe calls for the mix, 5 quarts. So let's take 3 quarts and put it in here. We'll go with 2. 2 quarts in here, and then we know we have to put 3 in the machine, right? Right? So So we've got 2 quarts in here. This is just going to help us mix it. I've tried everything. I tried the stand mixer, you know, the, what do they call them? The
Immersion blender.
immersion blender.
Like my $400
None of
one.
that works any good. So what I came up with is take the ingredients and put them in here. This stuff's great. This is the Hispanic version of Nutella. You could take this and just eat it right out of the can. It's so good. It is good. But of course, we don't do that because we watch our figures, right? Just like we don't sample too much ice cream, according to Steve, because that wouldn't be good. We would eat too much ice cream. Heaven forbid. So this calls for 5 cans in a half batch, in a full batch on this machine.
What's the cost of that can?
What?
Approximately. Cost of the can there. Do you know?
What's the cost of a can?
What does the can cost?
Well, I'm going to answer that 2 ways. I'm going to tell you that each can is about $2.79, and then the other way I'm going to answer it is, who cares? It's true.
My budget cares.
Who?
My budget.
No, your budget won't care, because you're going to do 3 things. You're going to make ice cream, you're going to sell ice cream, and then you're going to go to the bank. And you know this because in our class we go over how much it costs to make, let's say, Oreo ice cream using real expensive Oreos or Walmart Schmoreos. The difference is pennies, and the difference in taste is enormous. Always use the best ingredients. Don't even look at the price. It doesn't matter. The first week you're going to compute all your prices and say, oh, it's costing us this much. But after the second week, when you go to the bank, you won't care anymore. Don't worry about the pennies. I know that goes contrary to what people think, but it's... What do you think now?
I agree.
Okay.
There's so much profit to be made in like that.
The profit is silly. It's silly profit. And the difference in spending, what we come up with, $60 is the most expensive batch I make.
That was on Bailey's.
And that was with Bailey's, two half gallons of Bailey's. That's the most expensive ice cream. And when you compute the numbers out, to use cheaper products is going to be the difference in making, if you sell your ice cream for $6, $5 will be profit on that ice cream, not in your net profit or triple net, but $5. It'll cost you $1 to make it. $6, you'll net $5. If you use less expensive ingredients, so you'll net, what, a few pennies more or less? But of course, you do what you want. My goal is to have the best ice cream store in the world. I want to make the best ice cream in the world. Nobody can dispute that. When you were growing up and you had Oreos, they were good, weren't they? Oreos and milk. Now, if you went to Walmart and bought Schmoreos, you think you'd taste the difference?
Well, now, to him, he would taste the difference. I probably wouldn't.
No, I think
He
you would.
His standards.
I think you would taste the difference.
A lot higher than mine.
Jeff, I do a lot, Christi and I do a lot of Italian ice businesses, and what you're saying is absolutely true. I've been a convert for a couple of years. I can make you a tub of Italian ice for about $4 that will sell like hotcakes at Yankee Stadium, just because it's cold and the beer guy wasn't nearby. Or I can spend $9 on that tub, and I can have lines around the block paying a higher price for a far better quality, and they come back week after week after week because you've got the best stuff in town. There's just, you're right, there's no substitute for quality.
And you can taste the difference.
You sure can.
M&Ms, we make M&M ice cream, and you can buy regular M&Ms, the kind that we've eaten for 50 years, some of us. Or you can buy Schmem&Ms, and they're just a world of difference. but it's your store. Okay, so we've got in here mix and dulce de leche. We'll add a little sugar. We're adding 25 ounces of sugar. These are Heath bar pieces. We'll add those in a bit. And now, instead of trying to get all that into the machine, we take this and watch what happens to the color. Watch how it blends. Can you see this? And Steve likes this because we're not throwing sugar into his machine.
Yeah, but I miss your old Black & Decker corded drill that weighed about 10 pounds. This is getting very high tech for you, Jeff.
It just makes it easier to work with.
Yeah.
Putting those cans into there, like Nutella, it's tough to do. And I can't take credit for this. Kevin, if you're watching, one day I was making chocolate velvet, which is Nutella, and I was struggling putting it in there, and then I decided to do it in here, and I had a hand whisk. And he said, whoa, stop the presses. Just a friend, not in the business. And he said, I'll be right back. And he stopped, left the store, went to Home Depot, came back with this. And the second I tried it, I knew this is it. It was gold. So there you have it. All right, so this will go in the machine, and then we're going to add how many more quarts?
3.
Thank you. So let's go 3 more quarts here. Okay, 3 quarts. Get any water that's in there out. And a little piece of cookie. We don't want any of Steve's cookies in our ice cream.
Though it wouldn't hurt.
All right, so now we'll add just the mix. We'll put this in. My friend George computed how much ice cream I've made, and I just passed 65,000 gallons of ice cream.
Wow.
That's a lot of ice cream.
Yeah.
Then we'll add this. And I know there's some left over, but there's a trick coming up. Close it up, start it up. And now we have Heath bar pieces to add. I think that's it. We have the mix. Oh no, some vanilla. We'll add some vanilla. I usually add 1 ounce per quart. So how many quarts of mix are we putting in?
5.
Right. So we'll add 5 ounces of vanilla. At my class yesterday, for the first time, we did a Zoom call with Darren.
Oh, nice. From Lockhead.
From Lockhead. He told us all about vanillas. It was good, wasn't it? Answered all the questions, listen to this. as this mixes up. He had sent me samples of 7 different vanillas that they make. So what I did, I went in on Sunday and I made half batches of each one and labeled it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then before the Zoom call that morning, I handed out papers and everybody tested the vanillas, taste tested, and they made their notes. And we graded them 1 to 10. And we had a board, and it was really cool. Most of the time, we were in agreement on it, which is mind-boggling. You know, we had all those people in the class, and everybody agreed. It was blind taste tested. They didn't know what they were tasting. And then Darren came on the Zoom call, and he explained what we were tasting and where it's from and all that. It's pretty good. We may do it again.
No, 6.
6 and 7, right. 6 is
Madagascar.
6 is his most expensive vanilla. It's Madagascar bourbon vanilla, and that was the most expensive. Number 7 was the least expensive, and they both tied, which is I was thrilled. So now we'll add a little of this here. And we'll swirl it around so we don't miss any of it. We'll pour that in. And what are we going to do now?
Turn on the refrigeration.
No, what are we going to do now? Come on. Come on, what are we going to do now? Thank you. Oh my. We'll add heat bar. Whenever I do that, I want to make sure what happens. The water. I want to make sure we're getting the water out. Perfect. And we'll add a little more heath bar. I make this both ways. I make it with no crunch, and I call it English toffee. And I make it with heath bar and call it caramel crunch. We'll add a little more of this. Because you said there wasn't enough crunch in the first one. Damn it, we'll have enough crunch now. Okay, we are ready to roll.
Do you need a Pepsi? Do you...
And I'll tell you one thing, if you make this, if you open a store, and if you make this, you'll never not make it. It'll have to be on your menu forever. There's a few flavors like that. One of them is what I make, chocolate velvet, and the #1 flavor is totally coconut, and you'll never be without them. How are those? Good? Matt?
What's that?
Totally coconut.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah, very good ice cream. I pay these guys to sit in the back. All right, so now, what do you want to do now?
Well, let's find out who's going to do what. How many people in the audience are going into an ice cream business? Do you count as 1 or 2? One. Okay, so 2. Italian ices?
We're going to do those 2.
2 also. Dairy free? Probably.
Maybe
once you learn about it. So what are the rest of you going into?
Well, we have, I'm opening an Italian restaurant. We're going to have 350. We're going to do gelato and Italian ice.
Good. Very good. How about you folks?
We're not sure yet.
Okay. What are the choices of not sure yet?
We're still working on it.
Where in the country are you going to be?
South Florida.
South Florida. Okay. Excellent. The nice thing about South Florida is it's definitely a year-round business, whatever you sell, because us annoying New York down in the wintertime, and we want to duplicate summer. We run around in shorts. We're Floridians. I'm a Floridian now. We're wearing 3 sweaters. They're jumping in the ocean, which is insane. They're drinking margaritas and they're eating Italian ice. You couldn't have a better combination. Excuse me?
Clogging our roadways.
Yes, clogging the roadways too. Well, we don't know how to drive unless they're stopped. I mean, God forbid there should be speed on the highway. We'd fall apart. I used to drive to Cross Bronx every day to work. It was 6 miles, took 40 minutes. And I'd see the same guys reading the daily news, steering with their knees while going, 1 inch forward. It was a way of life. What are you planning in the back?
We are, we're going to be a little bit harder to get to than those guys are. We're going to be kind of out in the middle of nowhere. We're from a small town in the winning state of Georgia.
Yeah.
Very good.
And so we're going to bank on families wanting to get away and get out to, we farm. So this is kind of an addition. We raise strawberries, satsumas. We have corn and peanuts has been our livelihood. This is a new venture. Our son-in-law's venture is the satsumas and the strawberries, and this is just something. I could talk to you all day about our ideas, okay?
So will the ice cream be at the farm?
It will be, around the satsumas and the strawberries and the corn, and we're going to mix some produce up. We're putting a big pole barn up, and it's going to be a plethora of things that's going on.
Well, one of the greatest things that got ice cream parlors, the ice cream business through COVID, which I mentioned earlier this morning, was pint sales. Because the stores were closed down, but thanks to social media, you hire someone young who's good at social media and let them run that, and you can place orders through it. They can be in the parking lot, run it out to them. As the stores open back up, especially on farms, I love doing this because they're there for the day. Let's say they're picking strawberries or they've come out to buy peanuts and other items. It's an event to come out to the farm.
That's what we're counting on.
Yeah, they bring the kids, they bring the whole family, they bring grandma, and they're spending time out there. And then when they leave, they're not going to do other errands. They're going straight back home. So if you've got pints of ice cream that are frozen down to 10 below, that'll survive a 40-minute trip without any problem. And you can charge high prices for pints. We're getting $7, $8, $9 a pint all over the country. It's price insensitive thanks to the millennials. As I mentioned before, they want the highest quality products they can get. They don't care what they pay for it. And that's what we're doing compared to the ice creams we made 10, 15 years ago. So you're leaving and you know the ice cream's there and you know it's going to survive the trip home. So I pick up a mint chip for me, and Paula couldn't come on this trip, so I'm not going to come home with just 1 pint for me. I'm going to pick up a coconut, Jeff's special coconut flavor, to bring home to her. So now I've just spent, if it's $8, I've just spent $16 on ice cream and don't even think about the price. I have a little fun with it being from New York. I put the ice cream, I would have you put the ice cream in a bag, throw in a spoon, or if it's 2 people, 2 spoons, and they say, what's that for? I'm going home. In case you get stuck on the Cross Bronx, you got to eat the evidence. It's melting. And, I contend, but that's another story. There's no such thing as ice cream being brought home by a man from the store that doesn't have teeth marks in it. But we're very clever. After we bite into the ice cream or bite all around the container while driving, we smooth it over with our finger, and it's obvious someone's been in the ice cream. So what we do as soon as we get home, we've got the other groceries and the beer, and we put it all on the counter, and we rush and grab a spoon, and we start digging into it and have a couple of bites until we get yelled at for eating the ice cream because the Thompsons are coming over tonight, but we've covered up the evidence. But the point is, it's a very popular take-home item. I talked about this a while back at Penn State, and I was talking to the head of the dairy school, Dr. Robert Roberts, and I said to Dr. Roberts, why does Haagen-Dazs and Ben & Jerry only sell in pints? Where are the quarts? Where are the half gallons? And he said, Steve, it's a perceived notion and it's price. You'll pay $8 for a pint of ice cream. And because you're going home, you'll buy 2. You'll spend $16. But if it's $8 a pint, you'll never spend $32 for a half gallon, because even if you're Bill Gates and you could afford an 18-karat gold case for your iPhone and not even blink, your mind won't let you spend $32 on ice cream. So it's 2 8s and 8s, and you add that up to all the people who come out to visit your farm, and you've got a very big business. The other thing is, a pint of ice cream is only going to last a day and a half. As soon as you get it home, you take a taste of it. You have some after dinner, and then if you're like me, at 11 o'clock at night, you're sneaking another couple of spoonfuls. So in a couple of days, it's gone, and you're going to go back to the farm to get more. So it's become the most amazing repeat business. In the first year of the COVID 2020, where everybody was shut down, a large number of my customers were up 40, 50, 60% same store sales over the previous year, just because of pints. So sell pints, don't sell quarts or half gallons. Keep it small and keep it simple. We don't need you to spend $50,000 on decorating the pint. We have some pints around that we got off Amazon that are pink polka dots. They're very nice. I contend that if you just had a pint container, just buy the plain white pint container and get colorful. You can get 3 color stickers made that are freezer proof. So one sticker has your name on it, and the other sticker has the flavor on it. Or you could even do just your name on the white background with a sticker and handwrite the flavor on top. It looks so homemade that people are going to go for it more so than a commercial brand that they know wasn't made fresh. I'm a sucker for this because Paula rarely lets me out to do shopping because I'm sent out for one item and come back with 3 carts full of all sorts of junk food. It's great. And when I'm checking out, there's always Aunt Josie's or Aunt Martha's or Aunt Susie's banana nut bread right there at the cash register. It's wrapped in only aluminum foil, and it says Aunt Josie's. And I'm thinking, Aunt Josie, I'm starving. And I figure Aunt Josie's got to be the greatest chef on earth. I'm buying this. And it's like $3 for one piece. I don't care. I'm hungry. I'm going to eat that before it gets to the car. And I don't know if Aunt Josie's any good. Maybe Sara Lee is better. But it's the packaging that makes it look so simple and so homemade that I want to buy it. So sometimes less packaging is a great idea.
Keep going.
Keep going. Yeah. On what subject?
Does it matter to you?
I will talk about something new that we ventured into. Some people call it sleeping with the enemy. I call it good business. When people buy a CB350, we put them into business for this machine, which is very well priced to get into the business. And we buy a chest freezer from Home Depot, Lowe's, or Sears to freeze the ice cream in. It works very well, but the chest freezers can only do so much. So a year or 2 later, we're hearing from people and they're saying, I need a bigger machine. I don't have enough ice cream. And I say, no, you do have enough ice cream. You could hire an off-duty cop, fireman, or retired military to come in and work the graveyard shift for you. They look at the job as a mission. I mean, who better to be in your business at 1 in the morning than a fireman? I mean, it's great. So that's who you hire to come in and make more ice cream. Your problem is storage. So one of the biggest manufacturers of hardening cabinets, Masterbuilt, went out of business 2 years ago. They don't. I was told that they are so out of business that there's only someone sweeping the floors in the factory. They don't have parts. They don't have service. They don't have technical, nothing. They are gone. Masterbuilt is gone. That leaves Kelvinator, which is an extremely good cabinet. I've used a lot of Kelvinators, but they're also running into supply chain problems, so they're quite delayed. So I was approached by Cappigiani, which is the Italian batch freezer. We do hard ice cream. They do gelato. It's totally different. Excuse me, I think it's them calling or telling me to shut up. No. And they said, would you endorse a hardening cabinet if we built it at one of our they have different USA companies under another name, Ali Group. And I said, we need it. And I'd like to have some input in it on the features and selling price and all that. So we got together for the past year and we introduced this at the National Ice Cream Retailers Association in Orlando this November. This is what they call, technically it's called a 1-door model because the 2-door model would be twice as big. But this coupled with this means you can now quadruple the amount of inventory you have in the store. This has dual compressors that go to minus 25, and the difference in a hardening / blast freezer versus a normal, say, true freezer. You can buy a true upright freezer and it goes to 20 below or 15 below. But as soon as you put, say, 5 gallons of hot soup in it, that temperature is going up to plus 40. You can load this up with fresh made ice cream and that temperature is going to still hover somewhere about minus 16 to minus 25 and then go back up to minus 25. So now I've got my 2 chest freezers, I've got my Emery Thompson batch freezer, and I've got this new hardening cabinet with dual compartments, dual compressors, all made in the USA. And what I can do is I can load this up with ice cream tonight because my volume is quadrupled. I make a lot of ice cream in here, and tomorrow I move it to the chest freezers. All they're doing is maintaining it. They don't, I mean, it's like bringing home frozen pizzas. You don't have to do any work. So we load this up, we make a lot of ice cream, we put it in the chest freezers, we can store it, we can serve it, and then we can make more ice cream for those wholesale pints. So this is an excellent addition to the store. Square footage in stores has gone down, so there's only so many of these horizontal freezers you can do. So this upright takes up a lot, very little space. It's go ahead.
No, this is a 2.5 gallon, but it can hold 24 3-gallon containers without the shelves. So that's a whole lot of ice cream that you can store in that.
Or literally hundreds of pints.
Yeah.
What's the price range?
I can tell you off the show because this video is going to be around for 20 years. And so I don't want to tell anybody that you can buy this new 1963 Mustang for $4,950. Be happy to tell you. It's reasonably priced. And like I said, dual compressors, all made in the USA. We're very impressed with it and very happy with it. Yes?
What is the difference in the end product quality, whether you put it in a blast freezer after the batch freezer or straight into the chest freezer? Is there a difference in the way it brings the temperature to the floor?
What's the difference in temperature and the quality of the product between a chest freezer and a hardening cabinet? A lot of people would tell you it's dramatic, it's smoother, it's creamier. It ain't true. It's smooth and creamier because of the ingredients and because of the batch freezer you're using. This is where the texture is made. This is just a matter of how fast can I make it available to me to ship out the door. So with this, I can make ice cream at 11 o'clock tonight, and at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, it's ready to go out the door. This is going to, in my concept, this is going to build your inventory. If Jeff and I were setting you up in a store, we'd be telling you we can probably do a store, and I am going to say a number, $35,000 would get you into business, bare bones. And the chest freezers do a very fine job. The only thing is, the chest, are you almost ready or am I?
He's ready.
I'm ready.
10 more seconds?
I'm enthralled.
10 more seconds. The chest freezer, again, like this table, is wrapped in freezer coils. If I put warm ice cream in it today and fill it up 1/3 of the way, just to here, it'll harden it by tomorrow. So I can't make any more than that, otherwise the temperature's going to skyrocket up. Then tomorrow I can fill it here, and the next day I can fill it here. Buy a second one, now I've got 2 cabinets that are 1/3 full. So I'm very limited to space. They're only $800, that's great, but I'm very limited to what I can do. Jeff is the pro at that. He had at one point 15 chest freezers, 11 to 15 chest freezers in his store, and it worked well for him. That replaces all that space, all that electricity. I'm going to hold your question because they're going to pull this now and we'll come back to you. Take over, Jeff.
Take it over?
You already did.
Okay, there it is. It's ice cream.
I do not like this spoon at all.
No?
No.
Well,
What else
truth
can I
be
get?
told,
I'm already
it's a
started.
little soft because of, don't say anything, because of why? Tremendous amount of sugar. The dulce de leche is all sugar, plus we added some sugar, so it takes longer to freeze, and in the interests of the class, I pulled it a little soon. It's fine, it'll taste just the same, but you can see it's a little soupier.
Again, the texture is made here not here. By the time it gets to here, it's already done, and it's not going to change. But with the chest freezer, you run the risk of it's going to warm up and then refreeze. That's a problem. You had a question.
Yeah, I was just wanting to know, when you put it in there for the hardening, would you put it in the pint containers? Or do you put it in a big thing and then you split it away?
You put it in any container you want. As Christi said, it'll take 24 of the big tubs.
This stuff's good.
You can put 24 of these in there, or you can do quarts or pints, or gelato pans, anything you want. It comes. We took the racks out temporarily, but it comes with racks, so you can set it up any way that you like. But the main thing is it's pulling the heat out of the ice cream, and that's what hardens it up. And then it could stay there forever, or it could go into your chest freezers. If it stays in there forever, you really didn't need a hardening cabinet. You weren't ready for it. But if you're struggling with your inventory, and I can't tell you how many people call up and after 6 months they're saying, we need a bigger batch freezer. And then I explained to them, no, they don't.
No,
I was even accused on social media by one person who said, Steve Thompson's pushing CB350s so that he can make more money and sell you a bigger machine in a year. Well, if that happens to you, God bless you, because that means your business is so big that you outran it. If you're doing a delivery company with a Ford Econoline and next year you've got to go buy a tractor trailer, that's not because Ford wanted to sell you an Econoline, it's because your business got so much bigger. And you buy what you can afford. We don't want you overextended. I used to do stores for $125,000, typical store, and 2,200 square feet. Now we're doing 900 square feet and 35,000. Wouldn't you say that's about right, Jeff?
What did you say?
35,000 bare bones to get into a store?
Yeah, and you can even make that less.
Yeah, depending on, you put in last time, you added in the first and last payment with a very astute comment. Jeff said, you're never going to get it back. You know, you're not going to go out of business, but also nobody ever sees their last payment.
Isn't that
returned.
a big scam?
Yeah, the landlord finds a way.
Yep.
You know, I ran into a landlord, and my first golden retriever, Sadie, liked to eat all the corners of the molding. And just because I covered them over with toothpaste, he didn't think that worked. But I learned that in college. Didn't you ever have green walls and you used Crest toothpaste to, cover over the green walls, the holes in them?
After this machine was sanitized, I noticed here that the gate's not lubricated. There's only two parts that we require lubrication on the machines. That is the dasher shaft O-rings and the gate O-ring. You just need a little bit of a little smudge like that. Gonna rub it on the door itself. Open and close to evenly distribute it. That's it. You're done.
It's a good one.
Yeah, that is. Next we're going to do, oh yeah, go ahead.
Does the machine, when you put the heat crunch in, is it actually breaking it up, or are you putting the size that you want it?
Some of it will break up.
It depends on what it is. Here's a good example. If you were making a pecan ice cream, and you buy a bag of pecans for $30, whole pecans, and you throw them in the machine, it's going to break those pecans into quarters. And that's perfect. That's just the size we want. But you could buy pecan pieces for $15. $30 for whole pieces because they look nice, $15 for pieces. Why throw $30 pecans into a machine that's going to break them into $15 pieces? Below the pieces, they won't get any smaller because they're just rolling around. So you can actually save money. And if you had a hardening cabinet, you could buy, instead of a 5-pound bag, you could buy a 25-pound bag and put it in the freezer and keep it for months on end. So if it's soft, it's going to be completely pureed. Strawberries are going to be completely pureed. Cookies are going to get ground up pretty well. Nuts will remain nuts, but they'll break into smaller pieces. Chocolate chips don't ever change. And so it really depends on the hardness of the thing going in. The key point is everything can go in, and nobody else can do that. And that's a much better flavor ice cream. We're gonna drag in some chairs and sit down, and we're gonna see what.
After
Oh, I'm sorry, Christy's up. You're right.
Way to phase me out.
No, I'm not doing that.
Well, now you can help me with this one.
Yes,
All right.
what would you like? You need mix?
Nope,
Water?
we're doing the berry, what did we call it? Berry Finky
Oh,
sorbet?
very. Yes.
Berry, well, you can talk about berry then.
Well, while you're measuring that, yes. We called it Very Fink because Barry Fink is the name of the person who heads up our leasing for Emery Thompson. And he's been with us for about 15 years. He was up in New York and he retired to Florida. And I told him, you can't retire. We have too much business for you. You know, be like an attorney. Keep 5 or 6 of your key clients and just work for us. So the leasing company that we use is called Sterling Capital Leasing, and Barry heads that up for us. And so you can either buy a machine outright from us or you can lease it. Private money, which is what a leasing company is, costs more than a bank, but it's hard to find any banks that are loaning money. So oftentimes when you're getting into business, a lease is a good idea. Some people with all the money in the world still take leases because it's a good tax deduction. But it's just another way to getting in, and Barry is one of our favorite people, and since we were making a mixed berry ice, we called it Very Berry.
So what is this actually called? Is it an Italian ice?
I call it just berry wine sorbet. So the difference between Italian ice and sorbet is where you're buying it at. You go in the Harlem,
Right.
New York, they're going to call it Italian ice. You go down Rodeo Drive, they're going to call it sorbet and charge you $8, $9. And of course, putting it in a fancy glass. Now
Yeah.
for this, you can use just any basic sweet red wine. You don't have to get fancy with it. It's Sutter Home, not the best, but it's not going to shine through. And of course, your mixed berries, you saw me squishing them by hand. You can puree them or just do what I did. Puree, hand smush, same thing. And then because I have the little guy at home and I make my own formulas and come up with stuff. So I normally do two quarts of wine. Well, in the little one, a quart. Anyways, Steve's like, just kiss method. Keep it simple, stupid. So 2 bottles of wine, and then just refill the bottle up with the same amount of wine that you use. So 2 bottles of wine and 2 bottles of water. Be sure to use your cold water.
I attended this class when I was investigating what business to get into. I sat in the back, full class, and the guy over there, it was called Lunch with the President at the time. And the guy over there, the first ice cream he passed around was Merlot chip. It was a wine ice cream. And it's a true story. I tasted it, and I ran outside and got on the phone, and I called my wife, and I said, we're going to be rich because this ice cream is awful. And if that's what he's making, wait till you see what I can make. True story.
I heard their actual words were, if this dumb idiot can do that, imagine what I can make.
Well, somewhere in that arena.
Yeah, I think you've cleaned the story up over the years.
Mike's going to get on to the both of you. You're not on camera.
But it is true. It is true. The Merlot ice cream, and I thought it was vile. And I knew that he's it in the industry. Whatever he says is gold. And I knew if he made this, I can outdo that.
Well, Jeff, there's a new it in the industry, and she's right up front. So we'll let Christy get back to making it.
Yeah, I wish I had a machine at home that I could play
Yeah, I
with.
wish I had one home, too.
Yeah, mine's not as big as yours, though. Mine's convenient. And I'm doing what Steve always recommends, mixing your sugar before you pour it in there so I don't get yelled at later.
Won't be yelled at by me.
Right? All right. Let's get her started. That's definitely too big for that machine. Just a little short one. Who doesn't like alcohol that you can eat? Everybody.
Want scissors?
My hands are wet, so it doesn't help. There we go. Got one.
Okay.
A lot of people like to use fresh. I, myself, personally like to use frozen, and this is why. I'm going to turn this on because it's Italian ice, so, with alcohol. I like to use frozen because they're sweeter, they're in their own juice, it looks like this. Now obviously if you have like a nice blueberry farm around the area or peach farms, we have a lot of customers that have farms. They know what they're doing, they know what they're growing, but to go to the store and just pick it off of the shelf, it's kind of a hit and miss. How sweet is it going to be? Is it going to be bitter? So I like to stay with frozen because it's always going to be the same no matter what. All right, so just like Jeff's dulce de leche, we add a lot of sugar. We added sugar, the wine has sugar, and this has sugar. So, and the alcohol content, so it's gonna take a little bit to freeze. It's so good though. Now always be careful when you're working with red wine because it stains everything. Yes. Can't use that.
What is a favorite, and this would apply to Jeff as well, what is a favorite dipping size that you like to use as far as a gallon, 2 gallon, 2.5 gallon? What is the most convenient container to dip from that, well, let me end that question there. You see what I'm saying?
I can't answer that as best as probably Jeff could. However, 2.5 gallons seems to be the most easiest and convenient. And the reason being is because it's in equal portions to a bladder mix. So an example, this 12 quart, when you use, you know, the 5 gallons, 5 gallons comes, well, that's in a 24 quart. This is this one. So when it comes out in halves, it fills up an entire 2.5 and then another 2.5. So that makes your 5 gallons. So that makes it easier. If you go to a 3 gallon container, you're going to have room left, and then you put a lid on it. If you want to fill it up, you can. So that's the most common that I see, unless Steve or Jeff have a weigh-in on that. He's the one with the store.
Well, while we're waiting for Jeff, I'll just show you an alternative. As I mentioned before, Haagen-Dazs started with our machines. Today they use them in the test labs to try different products. These are gelato pan liners. I don't know if I have a real gelato pan is expensive. Here's one. A gelato pan is stainless steel. It's about $90. And you could choose to buy them if you wanted, but this is a liner that goes in from Gelato Supply, and it goes in like that. I use just the liners. Now here's what I like about this. A round tub, I mentioned before the restaurant costs were going up, and the owner is shrinking the kitchen. So now the executive chef has less freezer space. And so Haagen-Dazs comes in. Haagen-Dazs hires the biggest person they can find off the varsity football team to go out and sell ice cream. They already have an attitude because they're a semi-pro football star, and now they work for Haagen-Dazs. So the first thing out of their mouth is, well, we're Haagen-Dazs. Why wouldn't you want us? And their selling point is, we will sell you 10 of these tubs and deliver once every 2 weeks. So now the chef with the smaller kitchen's worried about, where am I going to put 10 of these tubs? I don't have the room for them. And how do I know 8 days from now which flavor I want to feature? You come in and you say Jeff's way, which is we can put it in containers like this, and now I can do 1, 2, 3, 4 of those as opposed to one of these. So I can have almost twice as much ice cream using this smaller container, Cambro, which are fantastic. I also like to do it this way because I can take these and I can, in the space of a tub, I can stack them in the chef's freezer like this. So I've got at least 4 flavors. I could even go another level and go 6. I'm giving the chef more flavors. And then it comes down to scooping. The old-fashioned method is they teach you, if you watch a video from Kelvinator, that you go around the tub in a semicircular motion, keeping the air content. If you attack it straight on, you're going to compress the ice cream, so your higher overrun is now lower overrun and your cost went up. It's okay, just factor it into your price. But you go home tonight, don't do this in front of me because you'll curse me, but pick up a pen even and just go like this in the air for about 3 minutes. Your shoulders and elbow will hurt so bad you'll be cursing me. You'll hate me because that hurts. Now, if you are scooping from one of these things, the motion is more natural. All your strength is in your bicep. So now you're scooping from north to south like that. We have a lot of strength here. Don't ever get in a fight with a young lady who works in an ice cream parlor. She'll deck you because she's got a right hook. This is an easy motion to make. So I do like these for that purpose, for the storage purpose and for the ease of scooping. Because as soon as you teach your employees like this, and their elbows and their biceps hurt, as soon as you're gone, they're back to this across the tub. They're scraping it like that. You can buy clear plastic lids for these.
And see, I'm a little, these aren't as durable as the ice cream tub.
Not at all. You're only going to get a couple of times out of them, but they're inexpensive. That's what they sell. That's a hard plastic for the regular gelato. This is a sealed lid. Again, if you're talking wholesale to a restaurant, don't think they're going to bring your tubs back to you, because they're not. I mean, they're sitting around half-washed, attracting bugs. They're getting thrown out. This they can afford to throw out. You throw it into the cost of the product. This is made by a company called Gelato, G-E-L-A-T-O, gelatosupply.com. And if you use the coupon code, my company name in block letters, run together, Emery Thompson, you'll get a 10% discount. So that's not too bad. But I don't do it for the 10% discount. I did that for you guys. I did it because I find it as a unique way to scoop ice cream. They don't work well in a typical American dipping cabinet, which I don't like anyway. You know, the glass ones where you can see the ice cream, they're lousy. They don't hold their temperature well. The ice cream varies. Over in the corner there is the old-fashioned floppy door dipping cabinet where the lid flops over on itself. They're less expensive. They hold their temperature. Or you can do it Jeff's way using a smaller chest freezer. There's a question?
That was my question.
Okay. So it's personal preference, but they all work. Jeff's way is great because he's taking them out of the freezer and putting them on the counter. He's got a line of 60 people, and they're going to go through it very quickly. So it's easy to go through these Cambro containers and then put them in the sink and wash them and bring up another one. So for his aspect of the business, there are no wrong answers. It's a matter of what's easiest for you.
That's another question people do ask is how many flavors should I start selling? Obviously, Jeff uses a deep freeze, so it doesn't really matter. When you go to a dipping cabinet, if that's your choice, Steve had a good point a while back is how many flavors can fit in that dipping cabinet? Are you buying an 8 flavor? Are you buying a 12? Are you buying a 16? So if you do the dipping cabinet method, just how many options can you fit in that one is how many flavors you should sell, unless you want to have one off to the side where you can't see, or you can get another 2 single one. So it's a good way to start. Now it's in a slushy form. Put a straw in it. Anybody else have any questions? You guys are making it a little too easy.
What is that? Sherbet?
Sorbet. What makes it sherbet to you?
Same thing.
Well, why would you call it
No, sherbet is dairy.
There's no dairy in that?
That's
No, there is dairy. There's no dairy in
To
Christie's.
me, that's a cream ice.
She didn't put dairy in that?
No.
That's a sherbet.
So it's ices.
Yeah.
Sorbet.
This is my favorite visual. I brought this out. That product in there, put into this cup, is a $2 Italian ice. That product put into this in a restaurant is a $7 sorbet. It's the same thing. It's just what the market will bear and how you're presenting it. Same product. In the old days, Italian ice was lemon, cherry, grape, orange, chocolate. And you go over to Winter Park, Florida, and you do the Winter Park Art Festival in February, and we're going to sell mango, kiwi, apricot, champagne, sorbet. Higher, different crowd level. You can tailor the product to the market, and there just aren't that many flavors that you can do that with, but the ices you can. And the other thing about ices, whether it's a sorbet, a wine sorbet, or a cherry ice, is it's so inexpensive to make. I can sell it for $1.25 in a lower income neighborhood and make $1.15 in profit, or I can sell it for $2.30 and still make that same massive, bigger profit. You can adjust it to the neighborhood. It's more easy. It's easier to sell than ice cream by a long shot.
It's the same with your ices as it is the creams.
As the what?
The ices, the Italian ice versus the ice cream.
Oh, is the process the same between ice cream and ices?
Do you make different freezing?
No, they're all going to freeze down rock hard.
Are you talking about batch times or freezing it after it's made? Oh, okay. Then yes. Batch times, no.
As cold as you can get it. Just because cold is the greatest preservative in the world. You don't need polysorbate 80. You don't need any of these chemicals. You put in a cold freezer and it's going to stay forever. If you had one of these things and you were an avid fisherman, you're golden, because there's nothing better than taking fresh rainbow trout and freezing it down to 25 below zero. You're going to have a great product. I saw that on TV. I've never
Not
caught a
in the
rainbow.
same freezer as your ice cream. I would.
No, not unless you're doing fish flavor. We may do that next time.
Sharknado.
Oh, we're not going to talk about Sharknado.
2 pounds. 2 pounds. Did we give out the formulas?
Sorry. Let me go get it. Yeah, it's 222.
Well, I always measure it out whenever I use that one. I do 1 quart of wine, 1 quart of water, 1 pound of sugar, and 1 bag of frozen berries. And this is 750 milliliters, which is just shy of a quart. So it'd be kind of silly. And Steve did make a good point. He's like, just keep it simple. So just use 2 bottles of wine and then fill that up with water, and that's what you exactly have an equivalent.
So I'm trying to move the 1 quart mark exactly.
You don't have to. It's like Jeff said, it's art. And you can use any berries that you like. You can stick with just blueberries if you want to make a blueberry sorbet, a strawberry sorbet. I know that there are people that make a wine sorbet, but they use a very strong tart wine. And when you mix that with sugar, it just doesn't taste that well to me. So I went on the hunt and just found a normal, plain, basic, cheap, sweet red wine, and then added mixed berries and the sugar, and it's fantastic. Now this has alcohol and a lot of sugar, so the consistency is going to be not as thick as a traditional Italian ice. Yes.
Is the CB350 water or air cooled, or is it?
It's air cooled only. When you get with the countertop models, it's not necessary to have any water because it doesn't pump out as much heat as this guy would. So when you get to the floor models, they produce quite a bit of heat. So a lot of people that upgrade from the CB350 to the 12 or 24, they automatically think they need an air cooled because they're so used to this one being air. But they don't understand that that's usually for those that have air cooled or for very restricted areas, cities that have water restrictions, or those that, have water very scarce or it's ridiculously expensive in their area. But it's always best to run with water cooled when you get to the larger ones because it keeps the machine cooler. You can back it up against a wall, shove it in the basement, doesn't matter, it'll run just as beautifully. If it wasn't air cooled, you have to have enough airspace all around the machine just so it can breathe properly, and not is it only going to need the airflow, it's going to make your room quite stuffy, and you're going to have to crank your AC, which is going to make your electric bill higher. It's starting to get a little peak. So we call it piling versus puddling. So this is clear, so this is a good example. The first tests that I did, and I cut it off, also known as a cutoff check, it just like splatted. That was puddling. We don't want that. We want more of a peak type texture, which is we're getting closer. So when I open it, you can see how it's starting to peak up. See, right now I think I can get away with pulling it. And we're at 16 minutes for this batch, and that's typical for as much sugar and as alcohol that's in there. I'm gonna call it good.
Isn't that beautiful color? And that's all natural.
Look how much this little one made. Makes 1.5 gallons at one time. Don't fall. You
And as Jimmy Buffett would say, it's 5 o'clock somewhere,
Yeah.
so it's the perfect time to have it. We advertise the machine as 6 quarts finished. We know that in something like this, a sorbet, where you can adjust the water level and sugar level going in, it'll easily do 7 quarts. But for advertising standpoints, you don't want to disappoint, so we say 6, but we know it's 7.
Does anybody not want this one? All right.
No, we're all taking doubles.
It's, and I have no spoon. You guys took off with everything.
Oh, let me see what I can find you.
No matter how you do it, they keep giving you the wrong spoons.
Steve,
Or
down
Christi.
there.
Just give Christi whatever, make her figure it out.
Thanks. I like that.
4 batches later.
I know, right? Seeing this is just, it's very refreshing. Obviously it's alcohol, so you would have to, be careful who you serve it to, but being on a hot summer, especially being in Florida on the beach, there's nothing more refreshing than this. And those, the profits are ridiculous because it costs $10 to make this batch, or $12 if you include the berries. That's it. And you're going to sell these, especially with alcohol, you could probably sell this little cup for $2-3 a piece, and within 4 of these sold, you've got your entire thing covered. So rest is profits.
Another little trick is down in the Keys. Last time I was down there, you have a lot of tiki bars and all, and they're using what's called a slush machine, or you've seen them 7-Eleven, Slurpee. We used to build thousands of those back in the 60s. They will fill it with a strawberry daiquiri mix and then pull it out and then add some alcohol at the time. So what you get is a very watered down strawberry daiquiri, and they can only make a few of them before the machine has to recover. So it's not uncommon for a bar to have 6 to 10 of those, $10,000 slush machines. We go in and we say, hey, we can sell you a 3-gallon tub of strawberry daiquiri with the alcohol, without the alcohol is the way I would do it. Strawberry daiquiri, and you have it in a little freezer behind the bar. The bartender gets an order for 6 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He adds the rum on top and gives a little stir, and there they go out the door. Or you could put the alcohol in the machine, same thing, and out the door. So he can make dozens of these an hour to keep up with the demand, and the customer loves it because they're nice and thick. It started off as something that you scoop.
What do you think?
And now you're just adding some alcohol to it to make it a little more thinner, and they're doing strawberry daiquiris all day long. So it's another thing to approach bars. The other thing I like with any of these products, don't go near a supermarket. you know, it's an ego boost to say I'm in Whole Foods, and that's all it is. I'm in Whole Foods. Well, you're how many? One, but they're promising me 4 if we do well. Whole Foods is great. They will let anybody in. They'll even let me in, and they go through a lot of different people making different products, and whatever the market rings out is we like, it sells. Everybody else gets thrown out. But your ego takes over. And this happens, you get into, down here our supermarkets are called Publix. Your ego takes over you. I'm in Publix supermarkets. It's like me saying, I'm in McDonald's. What a nightmare that would be. But it would be, you know, fun to talk to at a cocktail party. Oh, Steve Thompson's in McDonald's. I could care less. It's not worth the effort. I'd rather have 6 to 10 ma and pa stores that make sandwiches, sell Clorox bleach, sell Budweiser, and cut hair, okay. And you come in and you're buying a bottle of Clorox bleach and a 6-pack of Bud, and you see the or pints of sorbet or Italian ice or ice cream, and you grab a couple and take them home. You're making it for $1. You're selling it to them for $4, ma and pa, and they're selling it for $6. It's not only bringing people into, it's not only giving a product, everybody's making a profit, but it brings people into the store. Your bodega has my product, but his doesn't. Well, which one are we going to go to? We're going to go to this one. So the mom and pop people love you. And when they call up on Friday afternoon and say, oh, we just ran out of the mixed berry sorbet, oh, don't worry, we'll run some over to you tomorrow morning. Because you only have 20 customers. You can cater to them. And you'll make a lot of money just doing that. And it has your name on it, not theirs. So that works out very well, too. But stay away from the big things. It's just, I've seen it too often. It's just ego. And then you go out and you want to buy bigger machinery from me when you really don't need it and can't afford it and don't know if you're going to run in that. That just makes everybody look bad. So grow. I love the word. The millennials finally came up with a word that I like. It just took me forever to understand it. Grow the business organically, which I guess means, you know, when you got the money, go buy it. When you don't have the money, don't buy it. You know, that's simple. How is that sorbet?
It's refreshing.
Good. Well, that's the key word, is it's refreshing. We're going to do some questions. We're going to sit down because we're tired. We want to sit down for a minute, the three of us. And then we'll serve lunch.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to...
anything but that.
A little segment called Questions Answered. This is your opportunity. We can answer anything that you want. Anybody want to start off? Okay, yes.
Got a question. I noticed at the convention you had a frozen custard machine.
Yeah.
Okay. And I know you can make, there's recipes online with frozen custard made with a batch freezer.
Mm-hmm.
Compare the two products, end product, with a traditional frozen custard or through a batch freezer. What's the difference in?
What do you like better?
I don't know. I've never had.
Well, you've had
side
ice
by
cream,
side.
you've had frozen custard. What do you like?
But he's saying using the different machines.
For the same product. You can make a custard, an egg-based custard with a batch freezer.
Technically, it is a slightly different product.
Right.
We invented the frozen custard machine in 1923. And it was a big seller back then. It's basically a small continuous freezer. It's always coming down the chute all day long. Brought it back in the 90s for Culver's, bringing it back now in 2022. It's a very small market. If you're on the Jersey Shore and you order custard, it's just another name for soft ice cream. Anything that comes out of a soft ice cream machine is custard on the Jersey Shore. If you go to Rita's and you order custard, it's soft ice cream and they've added some egg yolk to it and they're calling it custard. If you go out to Wisconsin, it's made on a frozen custard machine continuously coming out of the machine at about 15 to 20 gallons an hour, very slowly coming down. There's almost no air in it, and it's a super delicious vanilla ice cream. You could achieve the same basic texture if you took Haagen-Dazs ice cream, put it into a bowl and stir it with a spoon until it gets sticky and gummy. So when someone asks, what is frozen custard? I ask, where are they in the country? If you're in Wisconsin, you really know what the stuff is. Pockets of places, Texas, they have some Culver's stores, they know what it is. There's other franchises that make frozen custard. Basically, it's a 10% mix with, I think it's 3.5% by volume egg yolk and run through a custard freezer. That's the true stuff, and it's so thick that there's a guy, Ted Drew in St. Louis, who's famous. He fills up a big 16-ounce cup with it and turns it upside down and hands it to you, and it's called a concrete. The batch freezers, our batch freezers will make frozen custard if you're going to harden it and scoop it and serve it in that fashion as a hard scoop eating with a spoon. It's a great product. If you're going to do a business just around the custard machine and be, putting it into dishes and serving it soft all the time, then you need a custard machine. So one, it's part of the machine. The other one, you're doing a whole business with a $55,000 machine that specializes only in custard. Very limited market. Frozen custard places don't sell anything else usually except frozen custard. And I don't like using a TV broadcasting term, a one-trick pony. You don't want to be making just one product. I want to be in the frozen dessert business. I want the ability to make hard ice cream and cream ices and Italian ices and dairy-free and gelato and custard. Doesn't mean I'm going to make them all, but I want that ability, all within the same package. So they are technically two different machines to make the same product. Anybody else?
The custard machines, you can serve it and eat it right away, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's another difference too, is as it's coming out, you put it on a cone and you can eat it right then and there. A batch freezer, you'd have to harden it overnight and then you hand scoop it to where it looks like a scooped ice cream.
Gotcha. I have a question for you, Jeff. You, as everybody knows, you had Mystic Ices for many years, were incredibly successful, and then the allure of the beach and the sand between your toes called you, and you moved to South Daytona Beach, and you have a new business there. So a series of questions. First off, what's it called?
It's called Cherry Hill Ice Cream.
Okay. And it's in South Daytona Beach?
No, it's Daytona Beach Shores.
Daytona Beach Shores.
Right. It's right on the beach.
Right on the beach.
A1A.
Okay. So at the old place, it was famous because you were in probably the largest retirement community in the United States, in the world.
Yeah.
And so you got a lot of people coming in after dinner, adults, my age, generally.
Not that old.
And ordering ice cream. And the secret was that you were actually running a nightclub that also served ice cream. You had entertainment in the form of you doing magic tricks.
We had other
you had
things.
music.
Yeah,
You had a lot of things going on. It was entertainment.
Right.
What do you do differently now at the new store that you didn't do there?
Nothing.
It's all the same?
I copied everything.
Okay.
Because it works. It works.
And do you get the same crowd?
No, it's half touristy. Half people live there and half touristy.
Do you see a lot more younger generations coming in?
You mean like your age? Yeah.
Yeah, that's younger.
Yeah.
You can tell.
Significantly.
Yeah, she doesn't have
Yes.
gray hair like we do.
Yeah, it's a mixed crowd. I didn't know what to expect at the beach, but you get everything. You get kids, and I hate kids.
Yeah, we all know that's not a secret.
We can't cut
Jeff.
the tape, but that's okay.
Not my audience. They're loud. I won't go into it, but we get a diverse crowd. We get young families, young kids, skateboarders, and then we get the people who live there. Across the street from the store, there are 60 20-story condominiums. It's like Miami Beach, it's condominiums. And those people live there. And generally they're older, because they can afford to live there. It's not inexpensive to buy a place on the beach.
Yeah, my father-in-law lives in Daytona Beach, so we go over there every now and then.
We'll stop and see I'll give you free ice cream.
Yeah.
Wow.
I have to bring my kid, sorry.
Well, one free ice cream. And you can leave the kids home.
Are you doing the same one portion size?
It's what I believe in. Mm-hmm. One size, one price, one cup, no mixing flavors, no toppings, no samples.
I'd have to agree with that on the one size, because if I go into any store and I see a small, especially ice cream, and I see a junior or a kiddie size, I'm ordering it. I will, and I will pay $2 for it and walk out the door.
Absolutely. When I first started, the day I started my business, it was $2, $3, and $5. And a guy came in, and I offered him, I had coconut ice cream, so I had, and he said, I'll take one. I said, what size? He said, how much is it? I said, it's 2, 3, or 5. Well, no surprise here. He said, I'll have the 2. 10 minutes later, 15 minutes later, a family comes of 4. What do you have? Coconut. How much is it? 3 and 5. I just killed the 2. What do you think they bought? 3. So that was the end of that. So for 10 years, everything was $5. And you get the best ice cream in the world in a cup with a spoon. And that's it. It took a while to educate people. You know, they would come in, they want banana splits, they want sundaes, they want sprinkles, they want cones, they want all this stuff. But I decided, I feel I can make the best ice cream in the world. I really do. Better than anybody's ice cream, I make the best ice cream. Now he can do it too. But I figured, let's specialize. Let's cater to people who really want ice cream. If my best flavor that I started with was coconut, and it's amazing coconut ice cream. It's ridiculous. If you take that coconut and put hot fudge on it, and put a spoon in it and give it to somebody, what are they going to taste?
The fudge.
They're not going to taste the ice cream that I pride myself in and work so hard to create and master. They're not going to taste it. So why bother? I could go to the store and $3.99 for a half gallon and scoop that all day if I'm putting hot fudge on it. So I decided that I'll make a name for myself by producing the world's best ice cream. And it's homemade, no preservatives, no emulsifiers, no artificial colors. All our ice creams are basically beige. You saw what we made today. And what we're going to make this afternoon is beige. There's no color going on because we don't add those colors. And we don't jump it up with flavors. If I need more flavor in an ice cream, I'll add more of what I make the ice cream out of. When I first started, my very first book on the cover, and Steve, God bless him, he backed me 100%. It said, don't use cans and jars and bottles of stuff. Go to the supermarket. It's right on the cover. Go supermarketing. And he does that now too. And it's a marvelous thing to do because all the flavors we grew up with are in the supermarket. I mean, Oreos and Famous Amos cookies and M&Ms and Snickers and Kit Kats, they're all in the supermarket. All you got to do is buy them and make ice cream. So that's what I do. It's really not hard either. I mean, to make the world's best ice cream, he learned in one day, both of them learned in one day how to make the world's best ice cream, and he believes it now because it was so simple. So simple.
Even just walking into the supermarket and going down the produce, or, you know, honestly, my favorite is the Hispanic aisle. They have the best, you know, cream of coconut, and they have the dulce de leche. They have so many great flavors.
Did you hear how she went into that accent when she said that?
She does it all the time.
Yeah, dulce de leche.
I can't help it.
That's how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
Hey, I need a cup of coffee. And add some dulce de leche.
My husband, when he went to Colombia, he called me on the phone and he said, how did he say? Bonus noches or something like that. I was like, oh, it's like honey. I'm like, honey, no.
It's
So making the world's
bonus
greatest
Sanchez.
ice cream, to make it is the easy part of going into business. And I'm not promoting my class because I fill up every class. But you take the class and in one day you learn how to make the world's best ice cream. That's the easy part of opening a business. All the other stuff is where you're going to have to apply yourself. The insurance, the sales tax, the employees, the location, the layout of your shop, everything we teach, that's the part where you're going to have to extend yourself a little. But as far as making the world's best ice cream, it's a piece of cake.
I think this is the class you're talking about. But while I'm holding that up, I'll tell you another interesting thing, a component of what Jeff is doing that none of us saw coming. and that is the labor market and the problem with labor. You can't get labor. It's impossible. You can't pay enough for labor. Even if you could, you can't find anybody who wants to work.
Certainly can't pay enough as the government is paying them not to work.
That's right. So Jeff's idea, which was radical and extreme a few years ago and has always worked very well for him, is now ingenious, because if you're putting on sprinkles or making banana splits or all that stuff, that's very labor intensive and the money's not there. What do you charge for a portion?
Well, for 10 years it was $5. Now I'm at the beach. I know I'm crazy. $6.
Okay, so $5 or $6. Imagine the ease of just scooping that out hour after hour all day long. I mean, you're going to need an armored truck to come to the store to pick up the money, as opposed to all the ingredients and all the hassles. And what I found growing up, since I was not on the football team, I was not 6 foot and huge. Baskin-Robbins was always the survival of the biggest. After a football game, they had nothing but everybody bum rushing the store, and whoever was the biggest got served first. And I ordered I've told this story before, I ordered a butterscotch sundae, no nuts, with vanilla ice cream. And so one person scoops the ice cream, the other one puts on the nuts, and then a third person puts on the chocolate syrup, and I'm at the cash register and it's not at all what I ordered. So now we've just got chaos.
And
in
meanwhile,
the store.
the line is getting longer and longer.
And Jeff's, it's boom, 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 get it out. And if you're the family and you feel that's too expensive, well, you'll go buy Breyers and have it at home. But it's not the same experience.
And I'll tell you, one second, I'll tell you what offsets the fact that you get one flavor. You get a lot of ice cream in a cup. I mean, it's pretty much 16 ounces. It's almost a pint for the $6. But what offsets the fact that people only get ice cream in a cup with a spoon, we also put a pretzel in. I've been doing that for years. But what offsets that is the environment. And I think this is probably number one after making ice cream, is to have a place that people feel like it's home. Music is always playing. There's an eclectic variety of chairs, couches, stools. There's a coffee bar in there for espresso and cappuccino, and the walls are filled with memorabilia from my era, but anything will work. But when they walk in, they're already part of the family, and buying ice cream is a bonus. So they don't, I can't get a banana split, or no. But you can get the world's best ice cream and relax. We even have games there. We have a whole cart of Monopoly and Scrabble and Parcheesi and checkers and chess and all that stuff. And they play. They sit and play. And that's fine.
One question I always like to ask people, and you don't have to respond to it, just think about it. But you ask an audience, keeping in mind Jeff's place and the family atmosphere now, which is a lot of fun, is when you were growing up, where did you go for ice cream? And most people get a big smile on their face. They remember where they went for ice cream. It could have been the local deli. It could have been Baskin-Robbins, like me. Friendlies. It could have been
Howard
the hometown
Johnson's
ice cream parlor. But it's so ingrained in our growing up process, ice cream is, that it always brings back fond memories. Christi and I were talking about yesterday that she was talking about getting people to be adventurous on making ice cream, and so she was asking some of her friends, what's your favorite flavor of ice cream? Hoping that she'd hear, you pronounce it, dulce. What's it?
Dulce de leche.
Dulce de leche.
It would be that, but it was vanilla.
It's the Italiana. I can't help it.
It was vanilla. But everybody knows where they went for ice cream. And that's what you're doing, is you're building memories. And something I mentioned earlier in the day, that if I come to visit your town and I come to your ice cream parlor, let's call it Jones's Ice Cream Parlor. Well, the locals don't call it Jones's Ice Cream Parlor. They call it my ice cream parlor. Come on, I'm going to take you down after dinner to my ice cream parlor. They don't own your business, but it's where they frequent. They feel comfortable there. They feel relaxed. It's got memories. And that's a unique thing to a business. You don't get that selling hot dogs. It's just wonderful. So there's a lot more component to this business. If you like dogs and then you're going to like people, and you'll do very well in business. If you like small children, well, I've got nephews and nieces and grandchildren.
Look,
I'm getting
we
there.
welcome them. You know why we welcome them?
Because they spend the money.
Of course. They're paying for my beautiful house on the beach and everything else. They're paying for it. So, nice shirt. But we welcome everybody, and I've changed a little too. When I first opened Mystic Ice Cream, it was a little bit aggressive. I still did everything I'm doing now, but the mindset changes a little. I think I've mellowed a bit, Steve.
Yeah, a little bit.
And now
the long knives don't come out when we're having a conversation,
right?
And we put them away.
And I don't even sell cones, because what happens with cones? Homemade ice cream, by the way, is inherently softer than hard store-bought ice cream, because it doesn't have the things in it that he knows about. Ours melts a little quicker. And if you give a big cone to a 7-year-old, well, you got to clean up on aisle 2 right away.
Yep.
And I want to avoid that, because we're busy. We see 400 customers a day, and I want to avoid clean up in aisle 1 all the time.
That's not a small issue, because nowadays everybody's driving an expensive car because they're leasing them. And it used to be we all piled into the Ford the Ford station wagon and went down and got ice cream, and it had genuine plastic leatheroid seats, and it got on the seats and nobody cared. Now you're getting ice cream all over Dad's heated and ventilated seats in his leather seats in his Audi, and that stuff, once it gets into those little holes, doesn't come back out again. And so you want a product that holds up. So soft ice cream is absolutely dead. Frozen yogurt is absolutely dead. I don't care what anybody says. Yes, you can always find an exception to anything I say, but those products are dead. Homemade American-style ice cream is what everybody, as Jeff says, everybody in the world either eats ice cream or wants to eat ice cream. And that's a great thing. I mean, you can't say that about a coffee shop.
No other product like it. I mean, you can sit here and watch 5,000 cars go by and know with confidence that every single person in every single car that goes by, every one of them, likes ice cream. It's hard to think about anything else that solves that.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Yes, you had a question.
Well, I had a comment, or I don't know, an open discussion.
Comments are later. Anybody else? No. Go ahead.
I don't know if I'm pronouncing this name right. Stone Cold Creamery?
Yes.
I've walked in there one time. Do you think they've overpriced themselves?
Is it overpriced?
Have you ever been in there?
No, once I was in
there.
That's is it the roll pans where they scrape it into rolls?
I'm not
No.
sure.
Is it
It's like a marble slab.
Oh, marble slab.
Marble slab.
Like marble slab.
And then they add ingredients to it.
They're not in it for ice cream. They're in it for show. They're in it just so that you have a presentation to see it. That's all. And the lines are too long.
Well, I know I was in there one time, and it had to be a special occasion because I just remember the price. I don't remember anything about the ice cream. I just remember it was just so overpriced. So they've never gotten my business again.
When I looked in Daytona Beach, which is where I moved to, so I wanted to be somewhat close, I found the location, and it was real good. It was an old 7-Eleven that had gone out, and the size was a little bigger, but okay. 1/2 block away, I mean, from here, closer than the building right there, is a place called Cowlicks, a big fancy ice cream building, been there 30 years. It's on the Chamber of Commerce maps. Everybody knows it. I mean, it's an institution. And everybody said to me, do you know that Cowlicks is right there? You can't open up. I said, I don't care about it. And I'm not maliciously trying to put them out of business or anything, but I know what I sell. And you can't get it anywhere. There's 4 or 5 ice cream places. We're on the beach, obviously, so there's ice cream places. Nobody has what we have. Nobody has what they'll have, because they're going to have the greatest ice cream in the world. It's the best. My ice cream's better than Haagen-Dazs, which I think is great ice cream. You can't compare the ice cream. And the place there, next door to us, they don't make their own. So I don't even have.
So this big fancy place that's on the Chamber of Commerce map doesn't even make their own ice cream?
No.
Wow.
No. But they've been there for 30 years.
I guess they'll be retiring.
And it's an interesting looking building. Yes, Matt?
I got more of a technical question for Steve on one of the machines. On the 24 quart, and I asked this only because I used to work in optical labs and we used to use chillers and recirculate water to cool machines. I know it's water cooled. How much water, if you run that machine, say, for an hour, how much water is cranking through it on a water-cooled system, and would it be advantageous, or do you have any customers or clients that use like a chilling recirculating system to save, just to save your water bill?
Let me do some quick math real first. Let's see, 3, 4. You're probably going to you're not running it for an hour. That's the trick. You're only running it for 8 minutes. So let's say you're making only vanilla and you get 5 batches out, and it's going to use a half a gallon of water a minute. Okay. So in 8 minutes, it's using 4 gallons. So 8 fourths, it's only using 32 gallons in an hour. That's nothing.
Okay.
So the thing about water is always expensive. It seems seemingly expensive. But if you look at your last year's water bill and this year's water bill, it only went up pennies. Whereas your electric bill, to remove the heat, this large room we're in right now, I could raise the temperature in here easily 8 to 10 degrees with an air-cooled machine after a couple hours. I have to remove that heat by air conditioning, and that's very expensive. And it's the air conditioning I'm buying in the form of electricity is a power company that is raising their price 3 or 4 times a year. The water bill is a bill that is decided by the city fathers of the town of fill in the name, and they want to get reelected, so they don't dare raise the rate, or not very much. So water-cooled is very efficient in that matter. Air-cooled should only be for instances like if you're in Jamaica and they're dependent on rainwater for drinking, you go air-cooled. If you're on a septic system, you may not want to put the water, and you're not in city sewer, you may not want to put it out. Though I had one guy pump it out to his pool, it's heated water. Another guy had a fountain running, so when he was making ice cream, the fountain worked. There's creative ideas.
Well, I do the dishes while the machine is on. It's right next to it because I have you saw I have nice hot water coming in.
Yeah.
If you do get up to say more than 2 machines, if you get up to 2, 3, 4, which is the rare store because they make so much ice cream, then you can do a water recirculating system, which looks like down here in Florida and Texas, we all have air conditioning. And it looks like a small air conditioning unit outside, but instead of pumping in cool air, it's pumping in chilled water. So the water goes into the machine at maybe 50 degrees, comes out at 109, gets cooled outside and comes back. It's what they call a closed loop system. So it's always going like that. To do 3 machines and size it for a 4th machine, just in case, you might be looking at about 8,000 or 9,000. So it's not something you jump into, but it's always an alternative. I can always take these water-cooled machines and take them off the grid. Air-cooled is forever. No matter, there is no way to transfer it. There's no way to blow the air outside. You're stuck. So everybody, the first question is always air or water, and they want to tend towards air, which also costs $1,000 more to buy.
I'm 100% towards water. I just was just wondering about the volume.
But there is an alternative. But Jeff's got one of the best ideas. Do other things with the water. It's not legal, but it's technically drinkable. I mean, it's only going through all copper lines. My old house up in New York was lead pipes that were rusting and getting worse.
We don't drink it, but I do use it to clean wash dishes when I'm doing it. I fill the large buckets because I know I got to rinse the machine afterwards. I use what I can.
We have farms that's pump it out to a holding tank to cool it back down to ambient temperature and then use it for the cattle. So there's a lot of ideas that you can do, and it really comes down to when we talk to you, it's a store-by-store basis, and that's one of the ones we go over. I had a situation that was hands down should be water cooled. And then she talked a little bit further, and I was asking about the neighborhood because it sounded nice up in Boston. She said, "We're on a cranberry bog." I go, "Where's that water going?" "Oh, we're going to dump it into the bog." I said, No, it's going to kill the cranberries, and they're going to haul you away because that's a great crop. So we didn't go water cooled. So we take that on a case-by-case basis as we talk to people. But 90% of the machines of the bigger floor models are water-cooled, and they're great.
That's what we talked about earlier. Did you tell them how it only uses water when it's running?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
So if you're in an area where the market for Italian ice has already been set forth and certain flavors are out there, do you recommend introducing new flavors or stick with what is already out there and just kind of...
Pickle Italian ice.
That's our market. That's what it is. It's
Okay.
pickle Italian ice and stuff like that.
Well, that's a good starting point because you know everybody loves it. You're only going to make it better because it isn't going to have traveled from Philadelphia to West Texas or some other faraway location or Georgia or whatever. But the other thing is a friend of mine who owns a business up in multiple businesses up in Staten Island, Ralph's Italian Ices. Ralph came down here, and to make a story short, he goes back up to Staten Island. And he says, "We want to make ice cream flavors in Italian ice." And I said, "Okay, so what are you thinking?" He said, "Well, I'd love to make Oreo cookie Italian ice." And I said, "Well, I think there's a way we can do that." So instead of the more expensive dairy product, he's using water and sugar and Oreo cookies. And the only thing I had to come up with to make it work, and it's a delicious flavor. It's so refreshing on a hot day that you just want more of it. And it's so inexpensive, you can have more of it. Dairy product, when you drink a glass of milk, it has flavor. It has a specific flavor. Cream has a stronger specific flavor. Water has no flavor. So the big secret that has been handed down through his generation to generation of Italian families back to Genoa, Italy, is you take the number of Oreo cookies you use in the ice cream and double it for the ices because water has no flavor. So we're going to add more flavor. Now he's making mint chip. He's making Oreo cookie. He's making chocolate chip cookie. He can make salted caramel. Any flavor that you can do in ice cream, I can now do in Italian ice by just doubling the flavor.
Or even, that's when that Jeff's supermarketing, how do you say it? Supermarket?
Dulce de leche.
There,
He says it better, but that was pretty good. You got better.
comes in handy. I wanted to do a pina colada version of Italian ice. So what's in a pina colada? What does it taste like? So I got a can of cream of coconut. I got a can of crushed pineapple, Malibu rum, and water and sugar. Literally dumped everything in one container, stirred it up, taste it, spot on, need a little bit more Malibu rum, froze it. It came out the best Malibu, what did I call it? Malibu Italian ice or something like that. It's fantastic. Just start coming up with random things. You know what tastes good together when you bake or when you make any sweets, or you've had this before, like pistachio ice cream goes great with pistachios and cherries. So you can do a pistachio cherry ice cream. So just start thinking of things.
And
Jeff's made
play
peanut.
to your demographics.
Definitely play to the demographics. You guys are so fancy with dulce de leche. In the Bronx, that's deuces with leeches.
Yeah.
See, like lavender ice cream, I don't see selling very crazy in the Bronx. You go to, Rodeo Drive, absolutely, with the Chanel and the Gucci and the
but
Prada.
it's the best flavor.
Let me
You
give you an
tell
example.
that.
Once you
Let's
try
say-
it, it's great.
This is an example that may play into that. Let's say you want to buy a car. You're in the market to buy a car. Where do you go? You go to the place that there's 50 car dealers on both sides of the street because you have your choice of anything. Now think about the car dealers. They're smarter than we are. Guy wants to open a car dealer. Where does he go? Well, I'm opening up where all those other car dealers are. Why? Increased traffic. And he thinks, the man from Toyota who's going to open up, he thinks, well, my Toyotas are better than those Fords and Chevys. I'm moving in there. So it's the same thing with ice cream. I didn't care who was next to me, and you shouldn't care what they're selling. You're going to be your own person, your own store, and you're going to make a name for yourself. So open up and do your thing. Doesn't matter if there's ice cream stores next to you, ices places, what they're selling.
Make it
None
better.
of that matters.
It gets crazy. I'll show you a flavor that only sells in one city in the United States of America, and it's one of my favorite flavors after I tried it.
It's actually my daughter's favorite.
Grape
believe it or
nuts.
not.
Remember grape nuts? Those things that we used to give it to our friends when they had their molars taken out, just to razz them. We'd send them over a box of grape nuts. These things are, they're teeth crunchers. And you put this in vanilla ice cream with a little maple syrup, and oh man, it's great.
No, he does
They
it
wanted
better than that.
at the Maple So that's what they wanted.
Yeah.
He's missed an ingredient. He takes golden
I'm Steve.
Steve missed an ingredient. Golden raisins, not the traditional.
Oh, yeah,
brown.
the raisins.
The golden raisins. So he takes a little bit of the dairy mix out and puts it into a container, and he puts his exactly however many raisins he's going to use and puts it in the dairy mix and sticks it in the fridge overnight. Those little dried up pruny golden raisins aren't dried up anymore. They have plumped up with that dairy mix. And oh my gosh, my daughter, she's not a little kid. She's 14 and she's taller than me. Just FYI for everyone else to know. She calls it the cereal ice cream, and it is her favorite, and it's an amazing, amazing ice cream.
Even better was my Uncle June, Emery Thompson Jr., but we all called him June. Poor people. They'd come into the factory and or you're going to meet with June today. And they're thinking, oh, some pretty attractive lady in the South Bronx. No, what do you want? That was my Uncle June. My Uncle June used to take the golden raisins and put them in a bowl with rum and let them soak for a week in the refrigerator. And he said, you must use a proper amount of rum, and it's important that you check them daily to see how they're doing, absorbing the rum. So they never got to the ice cream. but the fun thing about soaking the raisins, the golden raisins in rum, is when you bite into it, you get a squish of rum in your mouth. It's great. How about we have some lunch? Everybody hungry? You're hungry, or you want to ask questions?
I have one last question.
Okay.
What are the warranty on the machines, and as far as servicing them?
Okay, it's 1 year. On the big machines, it's 1 year parts, 90 days labor. On the smaller machine, it's 1 year parts and labor. And on all the machines, from the day you call us, the second you call up and say, hey, I'm thinking of going into the ice cream business or the Italian ice business, you are now under our lifetime technical support. We don't care where you bought it from. We don't care even if you buy a machine. Our attitude is we are going to give you every bit of information we have for free. That's why we make all these videos. And you can call up anytime because we know you're going to end up with an Emery Thompson. You can't expand without it. But that's the first line of our technical support. And it's open 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. 7 days a week, 363 days a year. The only 2 days we're not open for service is Easter and Christmas. Other than that, you can call at 8:30 on Sunday night, and you're going to speak to probably me, because all the phone calls right now go filtered through my phone wherever I am. I've got office phones in different locations, different houses, and I filter them. So if you're looking to order a front cover gasket, I'm not even going to call you back. I'm going to send it over to Kendall for tomorrow morning. If you say, hey, my machine's got a problem, we've been building the same machinery basically for 117 years. We know batch freezers better than anybody. I've done repair calls for Capigiani's because I know them better than they do. And so we know what you're doing wrong. You put a blade in backwards. You call Paula and you say, how much is an expansion valve? Now Christi knows this one. My refrigeration man says I need an expansion valve. And my wife is so tired of hearing it. She says, no, you don't. We looked up your records. You haven't sharpened your blades in 4 years. And the old blades, the old ones, had to be sharpened once a year. Your frost is building back into the compressor. It looks like a bad expansion valve. Send your blades in. We'll sharpen them for $100, and you'll be back in business. Malik Rose called up. He's a retired basketball player for the San Antonio Spurs. He also did commentary for whatever the sports channel is, and out of Philadelphia. And he calls up 8 o'clock at night, Saturday night, and his machine after 5 years is banging and clanking and making terrible noise. And if that had been Taylor or Capigiani or Electrofreeze or Stolting, they would have taken the information and they would have had a guy there Monday morning. And on Monday morning, they would have changed the expansion valve. So that's all they know to do. $300 for the valve, $300 for the labor. And then they'd make ice cream with you, or in his case, ices. And then everything worked perfectly, and you say, oh, that's great, I only missed one weekend, and they were here before 10 o'clock, and it cost me $600, but my Electrofreeze is back up and running. I got the phone call. I said to Malik, hey, Malik, what are you making? Oh, we're making cherry ice. Malik, taste it for me. What's it taste like? And he tastes it. He goes, oh, Steve, it's terrible. It tastes like cherry juice and water. Hey, Malik, you left the sugar out of the formula. There's no sugar in there. You're just freezing cherry juice and water. That won't make Italian ice. Italian ice is sugar. That's why the machine froze up. He didn't need an expansion valve. He didn't have to wait 3 days, add 7 pounds of sugar, and he was back in business. That's what we do, and we do it better than anybody in the industry. That's why we sell more machines than anybody in the industry. If you have a soft ice cream machine, you've got to go buy a Taylor. I absolutely insist you go buy a Taylor, because the damn thing's going to break 5 times a year in the first year alone. And then it's going to break 10 times in the second year, because there are 15 people under the age of 18 who are running your soft serve machine, and it's one of the most complicated in the world, and it's going to break. These things are built to be simple. We're simpler than any other machine on the market. The average lifespan of my machine is 40 years. Some only last 32 years. Some last 70 years. But the average is 40. There's nothing else. Jeff will tell you, there's nothing else in your store that is going to go that many years without ever breaking down. It's unlike anything you've ever seen. I used to compare it to a Rolls Royce until people told me that the Bentley is built better. So I'll go with Bentley. But when you say it's the most foolproof thing you own?
It's the heart of the business, and it doesn't. Somebody asked before about replacing something. Oh, the blades, when I was adding sugar to the blades. And I made a comment, well, you'll have to replace them after 30 years instead of 40. And all that's true. Look, I have an in here. I can keep spare blades in my store. I can keep spare gaskets, and I don't have any of that. You don't need it.
No, don't. I don't advise that, because you can lose it or you might forget about it. No, they don't dry out and rot like a lot of people think. Also, our parts are all FDA, and they're all for food products. So just going to Home Depot and trying to buy an O-ring, that's not going to work. Your health department finds out, they're not going to like it very much. And
the majority of the machine is either manufactured in here or 2 doors up at our other factory or across the street. Mm-hmm. It's all the parts are made here. Of course, we don't buy motors or compressors, but I buy made in the USA. There is not one piece of Emery Thompson that's sitting off the coast of Los Angeles, and there never will be. I won't even sell to China. I refuse to.
So when stuff starts to, like, you need O-rings or you need the springs.
Okay.
You have time to get it, right?
Oh,
It
of course.
doesn't go out
You have a year.
No, so
or 2.
We keep everything in stock, and the biggest question I think I've heard all last year was, well, how are you short on all of your products? Like, well, we're not. We hand make just about everything that we have. Obviously, we don't make O-rings because we're not a rubber, factory, but we have everything you need. So if you need something tomorrow, you call today and you need it tomorrow, we can get it to you tomorrow. If you lose something,
they're virtually maintenance free.
Yeah, so just your springs and O-rings every year religiously. That's the only 2 things that we require.
We used to be 4 weeks to build you a machine. Now on the CB350s, we're 8 weeks, and on the bigger machines, 14 weeks. Not because we're missing parts, but if you go into my kitchen in here, you're going to see about 120 pieces of paper, which are orders that have to be built. We build so many machines. Every year, for the last 17 years since we moved to Florida and got out of the Bronx, we have grown exponentially because we build a better machine than anybody. Nobody does what we do and does it consistently.
To play off of that, I didn't tell you about this one. A customer called earlier this week, and he had everything ready to go. And Steve will preach about that. He had everything. His hats, his T-shirts, his store, everything, but no ice cream machine. He calls up.
All day long.
Yep. He calls up and he goes, I need to order, a 24 quart, blah, blah, starts going on. I said, okay. So I start going over. I answer his questions, everything. He goes, now, what's the lead time? I said, 14 weeks. Oh, well, I need to open up, in the next month. Okay. Well, I have everything ready. I said, okay. I said, well, I'm sorry, but 14 weeks is what you have. Mm-hmm. And he goes, well, I guess I'll just have to go buy a Carpigiani then. I said, okay. He goes, well, they sell the most in the world. I said, okay.
They don't.
And he goes, well, that's a fact. I said, okay. And he goes, well, thank you. And I said, bye. He'll be back. He'll be back.
There are no used Emery Thompsons anywhere. If you find one, call us. We'll look up the serial number. It's probably 40 years old because stainless steel looks just as pretty 40 years later. Mm-hmm. And do you want the heart and soul, we're not here to sell you a machine today. We're here to teach you about the business because we think it's so great to get into. But the heart and soul of your business is your batch freezer. Whether it's a Carpigiani or an Electro-Freeze or an Emery Thompson, there's nothing more important. Your dipping cabinet, you may have 2, so you're okay. Or you can go buy a chest freezer. Your signs, You can stand out there and have someone hold up a sign that says, Steve's Homemade Ice Cream Parlor. There is nothing more important than the ability to make your product. I was a salesman, an outside salesman for many years. I needed to get to people. I needed a car. I didn't need a Bentley. I needed a reliable piece of transportation. It didn't matter what it cost. It had to get over the Whitestone Bridge out to Long Island, and that was it. So the most important thing in my world was my car. The most important thing in your world is the ability to make the product that you're going to sell. That's why it kills us when people call up and they've ordered absolutely everything and they go, oh, well, we got to start making our product tomorrow. Well, let's go down to Lowe's and pick up a batch freezer.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Let's have some lunch.
Okay.
I'm starved.
All right.
Mike? Not yet? Okay. So cream ice. You ready to take some notes? Yeah. Okay, write this down. Write this down. Cream ice, 3, 2, 1. Cream ice is 3, 2, 1. 3 quarts of water, 2 pounds of sugar, 1 quart of mix, and then whatever flavors you want. So we'll start with, I can't do it yet, but that's cream ice.
Go ahead, we're rolling.
We're rolling? You think I should do this without Steve here?
That's up to you.
Ooh, good way to get off the hook there. So all cream ice, 3, 2, 1. Simple, 3, 2, 1. And then comes the art. That's the science of cream ice, 3, 2, 1. Now, I'll show you. We're going to do 3, 2, 1, right? 3 quarts of water. Okay, let's start with 3 quarts of water. Oh, stop. It's water.
It's water. It doesn't matter if it has chlorine in it.
3 quarts of water. I'll ignore her, she'll go away. 2 pounds of sugar. Let's put sugar in here. Two pounds of sugar, right? Two pounds of sugar. I'm sorry, I'm rolling.
I'm glad you did. Sorry for the delay.
And 1 quart of mix, right? And that's the recipe for any cream ice in the world. 3, 2, 1, can't miss. So 1 quart of mix, right? 3, 2, 1. Do this, okay. So in here now, as soon as we whisk it up here, we have the recipe, the starting recipe for any cream ice you can think of. Pick any flavor you want, anything you want. I used to make Cinnamon Toast Crunch. It's over there. You can make Cinnamon Toast Crunch cream ice. You can make Bordeaux cream ice. You can make anything into cream ice now.
So why cream ice over ice cream?
You'll taste it. You'll tell me. Cream ice is marvelous. It's Italian ice is water. Ice cream is creamy. This is right in the middle, right? Right in the middle. And it's so refreshing, and it won't fill you up. You can eat a lot of it, which is a good thing.
I know you had a cherry amaretto.
Cherry amaretto cream ice. Everybody went wild over that. It's cherry juice and amaretto in here, just like this. And it's a big seller. Everybody in the class this week loved it, especially her.
And I don't even like cherry amaretto. And I liked it.
Okay, we'll get the rest of any water that's in here out. And then we're ready to roll.
The barrel, by the way, has a slight tilt forward to it, so it's
Why
always
is
going
this?
to.
Why is this?
It's always going to.
Why is that like that?
I don't know.
But it happens all the time.
Okay. We just reprogrammed this. So
Oh,
we'll
okay.
see.
Well, it's going to happen again because it's been happening, but I
Today?
guess. Yeah. Today.
Okay.
All right. Michael, no.
Yeah.
Mike knows everything.
Right.
All right. So this is 3, 2, 1 in here, right? All right. So we'll put our 3, 2, 1 in. And now that that's in there, you can walk over to the shelves or the refrigerator and make anything you want. This is what's going to make cream ice. Now you're just going to put a flavor into it. Piece of cake. So let's make, we decided on nutty peanut butter fudge cream ice, right? So we're going to need peanut butter, obviously. The fudge, we're going to sort of make our own. This is one of the 2 magic ingredients that I have worked with for years and years. She's got her pen out already. Terry's not. Terry's not writing it. This is Ghirardelli ground sweet chocolate powder, and it's a fantastic product. So we're going to add some of that. Now this is where, by the way, you're going to taste it and see what you like. So first we'll add some of this to give us the chocolatey flavor to it, because it's chocolate peanut butter. What did I say it's called? Peanut butter fudge? Okay. So we'll add some of this. We'll even turn it on, get everything mixing up well. Terry, don't be asking me how much I'm adding.
12
Well,
ounces.
you figure this is a quart.
12 ounces.
So let's go for half a quart until we taste it.
So 16 ounces.
16.
So folks, don't call up and ask me what the secret ingredient is. It's on the video. And how much.
And how much. All right, now we're going to add a little, a big flavor to it. We're going to add peanut butter to it. This jar is 40 ounces. So let's see what happens.
Crunchy?
And it's the chunky one.
What's he making?
Italian ice, cream ice. You switch. Peanut butter, chocolate, cream ice. Is that the peanut butter you bought or Rose bought?
What do you think?
I
It's
think
Jif.
Rose bought it. What would you use?
Jif. I love Jif.
You do?
Yeah, it's not great flavor. What's that Walmart brand?
Great value.
Great value. It's not great value. It's Jif.
No, I was just curious. I've heard, I like Smucker's as a peanut butter, but I've heard Jif because it's smoother to work with.
The best peanut butter, they stopped making it, was Skippy Super Chunk. And now they don't make it. They make it in a, what's the vegan thing, the all-night whatever?
Almond butter? Almond peanut butter?
I don't know, but it's not Skippy
Well, it's not
Super
peanut.
Chunk anymore. It's Skippy, you know, like Burger
Organic.
King hamburgers.
Probably organic.
Organic, that's right.
Yeah, I've seen it.
I'm a Peter Pan fan when it comes to peanut butter.
In other words, peanut butter is like chocolate. It's very subjective.
We'll figure out how much we're adding in a bit. First we'll add some and then we'll figure it out. There, it went on again.
Okay, can you leave it on for a second? Take a quick look at the screen so you know for the future.
Okay, now I guess we'll taste it and see what we got. And this is where Terry's will be different from Stacy's, will be different from Matt's. This is what is going to happen. Well, I think it needs more of everything. So let's just throw the whole jar in.
Jeff, how much sugar did you put in?
2 pounds of sugar. Typical cream ice. 3 quarts of water, 2 pounds of sugar, 1 quart of mix. 3, 2, 1.
In the old days, just one quick comment. We used to always tell people to make the peanut butter anything last because it gets all sticky all
it's the
over
worst.
all the parts. It's a lot of work.
Oh, it's the worst.
Some people think, they've come up in life when they can buy an Audi or a big house or something like that. But in the ice cream business, it's when you make peanut butter anything and then walk away from the machine and somebody else cleans it.
Which is exactly what I'm going to do.
Then you know you've made it. But the other thing is, of course, because of peanut allergies, you want to make this as the last flavor of the day because we are going to do a full cleanup and tear down and not worry about peanut allergies. And I used to think it was a helicopter mom thing until I was talking to a doctor turned pharmacist. She went the other way. And she said, it's very real. We can't exactly tell you why, but we think it's because all surfaces are so clean. A lot of families don't own a dog, so there's not other bacteria coming into the house, but everything is so Cloroxed to death that the kids don't have the immunity that we had growing up, eating our pound of dirt and drinking out of, God forbid, the garden hose. Yeah. So
I still
it's
do
a good
that.
idea
I hate shoes.
to do it always as your last flavor. This is the last we'll be using this machine today, and Christy's going to be switching over to this one for the last flavor for her.
Right.
So
Nobody's using this one now.
no.
Well, that's getting there. Now, I hate to say I asked my wife, Rose, if you're looking, she doesn't want to. I said, go get me some Hershey's chocolate syrup, preferably the special dark. It's great chocolate syrup. She came back because this was 13 cents less. She came back with this. So what are you going to do? We'll add a little of this because I don't feel like taking it home. All right, I think we'll turn it on. And we'll see what we got.
I'm going to rinse the
I'll taste it in a couple of
CB350.
minutes, and if it's good, great. If it's not, you'll get another flavor after. She's making great pistachio ice cream.
I've heard that's the #1 flavor,
What?
the pistachio. I've heard that's the #1 flavor.
No, it's vanilla, chocolate, butter pecan, pistachio, strawberry. According to the latest. But it's up there.
I've never had it.
Well, you get to sit and relax, Steve. That's how you know you've made it.
Well, I don't get to relax for long. While you guys are working, I'm going to talk about a different subject a little bit.
You might get it.
The millennial age group is 85 million people strong. Right now, they figure between the age of 21 and 49. The baby boomers, there's 72 million of us. And there's a lot of people claiming they're baby boomers who are not. As a group, it goes on in years, the numbers that it encompasses goes further. I'm probably one of the bottom of the baby boomers, of the original baby boomers. So my much older sister is more of a baby boomer than I am. We love our high-fat, high-sugar ice cream. We always have. We always will. The more sugar, and we don't think of it that way, but the more sugar, the more fat, the more we love it. That's why Haagen-Dazs does well, Ben & Jerry, old-fashioned ice cream parlors. There's only one problem. My wife gets mad at me for coming up with this phrase. I say, the problem with baby boomers is we're aging out. And she goes, you mean you're kicking the bucket? And I said, yeah, that's true, but it sounds better. The millennials are going to be around 21 to 49 are going to be around for a very long time. And so they're the new market that's going to control the market. People were talking about 3 years ago, and I got on the bandwagon quickly because I saw the opportunity to this, that millennials just don't like dairy a lot of times. Usually it's not, forget you ever heard the word lactose intolerant, it's not that. They hardly even know what that means. It's not lactose intolerance. Sometimes it's because they don't like the fact that cows are farting. Can I say that? Or that let's say they produce methane gas. Or they just don't like the idea of a cow being milked, or as they put it, tortured every day at 4:30 in the afternoon for their milk. And of course, I'm a wise ass, and I'll say something, oh yeah, you try going from 8 in the morning till 4:30 in the afternoon without going pee. See how you feel. You know, the cow loves it. But whatever their reason, they're not consuming in actual numbers the type of dairy that we're selling. So they have a phrase that we worked hard to turn that was vegan. They called it vegan frozen dessert or vegan ice cream. And I don't like the word vegan. It sounds like an 89-year-old man who weighs 89 pounds and you just want to buy him a good Ruth Chris steak because he looks so awful. And so it's not a good selling term. Anybody in marketing will tell you vegan doesn't sell. But dairy-free does. Dairy-free is still vegan, but dairy-free sounds a whole lot better. And what it is it's not that far from an Italian ice or a cream ice. The big difference is in making a dairy-free ice cream, and I tell people I can make any flavor of dairy-free that you want except for vanilla. And I'm going to substitute the water in an Italian ice. I'm going to substitute the dairy for coconut milk. So the primary ingredient is coconut milk, sugar, and your flavor. In my own homemade formula, which I could send you, but it's got problems, it's coconut milk, it's sugar, and a couple in the 24 quart, a couple of cans of Coco. Is it called Coco Lopez? Yeah, Coco Lopez, which is cream of coconut. And Coco Lopez is used in a bar if you're making a bar drink. If you want to find something a little less expensive, just look for cream of coconut. It comes in white pint containers and costs less. And that's my basis for making the ice cream. There's no dairy in it. The fat that's in it is coconut, which is every doctor will tell you is extremely good for you. The finished ice cream, if I'm making Oreo cookie or mint chip, there's a background taste of coconut. So some people don't like that, but it's pleasant. I don't go out and eat coconut normally, but when it's in this process, it's great. So that's where we started with dairy-free ice cream, and with those ingredients, and you can substitute the sugar for other things too. You can use agave, you can use allulose, which is my secret for sugar-free, and we can talk about that. But there are substitute sugars. Honey is good. There's a number of things you can use instead of sugar if you want to. But a lot of them all have an aftertaste. So it's so popular with the millennial age group that I tell people, if you're going to do 10 flavors, have 2 of them in your cabinet that are dairy-free and rotate them out once a week. Anything you want, as long as you've got something. And the thing about millennials is they are so on their phones and so word of mouth that if the word gets out that you've got 2 flavors of dairy-free in your store and 8 flavors of ice cream, they're going to text that to 10 of their friends. We're going to send it to 10 more friends. And within half a day, about 400 people in town know that you're the only game in town that has dairy-free. And that's exciting because it's not spreading fast because a lot of ice cream parlors are run by old men and old women. And this is changing too. So I've been through a lot of fads in my life. Frozen yogurt was a fad, though it lasted 11 years and came back a second time. Gelato in the United States of America is a total fad. Everybody was going over to Europe at that time in 1990s because the dollar was strong and you could get a lot for it. And when you're on vacation in Italy, you know, the food tastes better, the wine is better, the gelato is better. Everything's better because you're on vacation. And I'm cynical enough to say, where does a Heineken beer taste better? On a beautiful beach in the Caribbean or under the 3rd Avenue subway, what we call the Mugger Mover in the Bronx? You know, obviously the Heineken tastes better in the Caribbean. It's the same beer. Gelato got a lot of going there now, but the statistics show that around the world people are eating more ice cream than gelato by a long shot. Countries that were heavily gelato, like Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, they were all gelato. Now they're all American ice cream. But that's getting off track a little bit. That was a fad. One guy called me up once and he said, I've got a new invention. It's going to sweep the ice cream world. I said, what is it? Well, I'm going to take a homemade chocolate chip cookie. I'm not kidding. And I'm going to take some ice cream, vanilla, and I'm going to put it on the chocolate chip cookie. I'm going to take a second cookie, and I'm going to smush it together, and I'm going to put it in a bag. And I said, that's amazing. What are you going to call it? And he goes, I'm going to call it an ice cream sandwich. You know, we were eating these in the 60s. Anyway, he thought he invented the latest, greatest thing. So these are definitions of what a fad is. The dairy-free is a trend. There are enough people who are asking for it and want it and can't get it to make it extremely important. Certainly worthy of 2 slots in your cabinet. I told this to one group, and a guy calls me back a month later. He says, that's the lie. He was really pulling my chain. He said, that's the last time I ever take your advice, Thompson. You are completely wrong about the dairy-free. I said, why? It didn't sell? He goes, no, I had so many sales, I had to add 4 flavors. And I said, oh, go away. But that was the point. It's extremely popular. And I call up some of my old-time famous ice cream parlors. You got Fenton's in San Francisco. You've got Hinch's Confectionery out on the island. When I say the island, we always mean Long Island, not Jamaica. You've got all these old-time confectionaries who I call up, and I'm trying to keep them up on what's going on in the world. And I say, you really got to look into this dairy-free. And they go, Steve, we've been here 47 years. We have a huge clientele. And what do I need with this fad? And I said, you need it because when was the last time you saw a 38-year-old mother with her 4-year-old daughter come in and order ice cream? The guy goes, yeah, well, I don't know. I'll have to think about that. I said, exactly. You got all us old-timers coming in who are ordering the same thing over again, and we're a big volume, but we're, here's that word, aging out. And you've got to replace us with the next generation that your family is going to have to sell ice cream to for the next 40 years. So I got them looking at it. You can do it from scratch. I have problems with it. I haven't perfected it from scratch because it turns so hard in the freezer that I can't get a temperature where it'll scoop. It's a fine line between where it'll scoop and where it melts too much. What's the name of the dairy we use, Christi? Yeah.
Meadowvale.
Yeah, Meadowvale, Meadowvale. They're one of the largest dairies in the United States. I think they're in about 18 states or more and growing. And you can buy a dairy blend from them, or not a dairy blend, you can buy a bladder from them that looks just like this. It's in my freezers here, that you thaw and then turn it into dairy-free ice cream. It's coconut-based, it's excellent, and coming to a theater near you. The other way to do it is this product. The company is called, it's spelled M-A-M-I-S. And she says in Italian, that's mommy. M-A-M-I-S in the South looks like mammies. So you call it what you want, but it's MAMISgelato.com. And they have two products. They have the coconut that they started with. It's a powder, and the instructions are right on the container. You just add water, and it's ready to go. And this is an excellent product. And so after they conquered the market with that, they came out. I just happened to be having a talk with a senior executive at Nestle, who we put a lot of their ice cream companies into business, most of their ice cream companies. And she was saying, Steve, yeah, the coconut is great, but keep an eye out for oat. She said oat is very smooth and creamy, has no aftertaste, and we think this is where it's going. So if that's coming from a senior exec at Nestle, that tells you what their thinking is in the future. And then just at that time, Mommy's Gelato or Mammy's Gelato came out with a product they call Outrageous. It's a cute name, Outrageous. And it's the same thing. It's a dairy-free, but it is oat-based, and it is smooth, it's creamy, and it has no aftertaste whatsoever. And so I like them both. I like the coconut. I also like the Outrageous. I have no negatives towards either one of them. And so now you can be truly in the dairy-free business. There's people going around saying, oh, well, Italian ice is dairy-free. Well, you may sell that concept to me, but you're not going to sell it to a millennial. It's not a dairy-like product. So something to know about. It's out there. It's great. It can go in the same dipping cabinet as your ice cream. How is it?
This is interesting. It's refreshing. It goes down easy. You could eat a lot of it.
And it's 10 million calories. But who cares?
And 50,000 grams of fat.
Yeah, but it's pretty good.
Are you going to let them try it?
They have it.
They have it. Oh.
They don't like it. So cream ice, who asked before? Cream ice is different than ice cream, right? Different than Italian ices. It's sort of in the middle.
My opinion? Mm-hmm. It's too chocolatey and it's not refreshing. Because
that would sort of negate that sale, wouldn't it?
Because of the chocolate.
My pickle ice was better than that.
Chocolate makes you thirsty. And I can see where this is going to, one taste I can see it's going to make. I would just cut back.
And what do you want more?
I would cut back on the chocolate.
Okay.
Anybody have any ideas?
I liked
It's rich.
Yeah.
It's really rich.
I liked the chocolate in there. If it was no chocolate, then it would just feel like I was eating
Right.
straight cold peanut butter.
Right. You're right. He's wrong.
Oh, voice of God just said he likes it, so there you go. That's Mike. The intercom system is called the voice of God.
Actually, more important than whether you like it or not, you saw how we created it.
Yep.
And it's nothing.
And we talked it out.
3, 2, 1, and then whatever you want. You could use 3, 2, 1 in Oreos. The ground pan make Oreo cookie cream ice. Anything.
Now, when you serve that in a cone,
No.
Dish. In a dish. All ice is in a dish.
even cream ice, okay.
Yeah. It would be weird in a cone. But I still like my squeeze cups. These are just a lot of fun. And they're self-marketing because you're going down the street with something bright orange because it's orange ice or bright red because it's cherry ice, and you're just squeezing it and eating like that. So, and these come in different sizes, and they cost next to nothing.
I need 3 cups of pistachios, but all measuring cups are dirty, so
Well, I'll get you a thing.
I got it.
Oh, okay.
I'll eyeball it.
So what do you
Put
make?
'em all
Oh,
in.
Christy, let me get you a recipe to give out.
Put them all in.
It's a CB350.
Put them all in. Yeah.
All right.
I see you have a real dilemma. On one side, you've got me who says ice cream's mathematical. On the other side, you've got Jeff who says, what the heck? The only thing I can say is I write the checks. Yes, he does balance us.
Now, you don't have to grind up the pistachios, but I do. Obviously, we're going to be eating them fresh, so they're not going to be rock solid. If you make this and you freeze them whole and you put them in there, that's going to be a very hard pistachio trying to bite down on. That's just my opinion.
No, this is the right way.
Huh?
That's the right thing to do.
So we'll see how much is left in here.
Jeff, can you give a plug for the Ninja?
Oh, come on. Everybody knows about that. Anybody not know about the Ninja? Everybody knows that.
Okay.
I wish they would pay me off.
Now, the recipe calls for 4 quarts. Looks like I have 3.5. I'm going to leave it. I'm not going to open up another bladder just for a half a quart. The minimum that you can run into the CB350 is 3.5 quarts, so I'm right on target. Everybody knows about little Jell-O instant pudding mixes, yes? Okay. So Jeff makes a very fantastic cheesecake, and he uses the Jell-O no-bake, and inside of those has a powder packet, which makes a great cheesecake flavor. So for the last almost 18 years, I've had to make my husband very dreadful, famous Christmas holiday tradition Watergate salad. Have anybody heard of that? Okay, he loves it. I have to do it every year, which calls for 1 pistachio pudding, pineapple, colored marshmallows, all that stuff. Huh?
No, I've had it. I didn't know he said it until you described it.
Yeah, so it's kind of popular. I'm not a fan of it. So I thought, you know what, well, let's make some ice cream out of it. So I did. Instead of using syrups or extracts, why not?
And if you go down the aisle, there's 100 flavors of Jell-O you can pick from. And you can make ice cream out of any of them.
Mm-hmm.
So is that pistachio flavored?
Yes.
It's pistachio flavored instant pudding, not Jell-O, pudding. It's a pudding mix. So I use 2 of these boxes for the little guy at home. So this one, I just double it. That's it. Very simple. You know what these are? This is what it is. You're welcome. And I'm going to do it the old-fashioned way. No drill.
A whisk?
Yeah.
Well, that you could do with a whisk. But add some Nutella or peanut butter? No.
Yeah. Dulce de leche.
Dulce de leche.
There you go. It goes good with your mustache.
Yes, well, dulce de leche.
Hey, Abadanapoli.
Hey.
Of course, that means go to Naples. So it's not really
Baba
a curse.
ganoush.
All right. My gate is closed. And off we go. And it already makes a very beautiful green color, which you relate to pistachios. So no need for added colors or anything of that sort.
It's a terrific color. I think Paul and I painted a bathroom that color this week.
Oh, did you?
That is really good color.
That would go good. All right. Homemade and start. And unlike Jeff, I'm not going to yak. We're going to start it.
Oh, I trained her well, Jeff.
Everybody hates me.
Oh, we're going to go eat worms.
Oh, poor me. Woe is me.
Now, as Steve mentioned before, a couple minutes into this, it's not going to do anything. I am going to wait a few minutes before I add my pistachios because I want the ice cream to be just a little bit more thicker and more dense to hold my pistachios instead of just sinking right to the bottom. It won't all sink to the bottom, but I don't want all of them to go down there, so I'm going to wait until the ice cream's a little more thick. Give it a couple minutes or so. Anybody have I guess not, we just had peanuts. I know this isn't related to a nut family. It is a pistachio, so out of precaution, always still even with pistachios or almonds or anything like that, just leave it to the end of the day for your last flavor.
Now, could you make pistachio cream ice out of this? How about pistachio Italian ice out of this? Of course. Just, let it run.
When one, then you just change that up.
No, 3, 2, 1, and then add this.
Everybody else is tall.
He has to get Christi a little step stool.
I know, right?
Yeah, a requisition form.
Just for the show.
This is going to be very good.
Yeah? Have you ever had pistachio pudding?
Nope.
No?
Who knows what this is? No, it's not what you think. This is my rainbow maker. That's what it should look like. This is what it looks like when the person thinks the way you make 3 flavors is to take this and put it inside the machine and turn it on. Isn't that great? Look at it. Oh my goodness. I gave him a new one, and he claimed that UPS did this, but I've gotten so much mileage out of it just to show it off. It's wonderful. No, it still didn't break the machine. But that's how you make 3 flavors at once. We call it the rainbow maker. And my vice president came up with this. And he gave it a wonderful name to make 2 flavors. He calls it the Great Divide. And we were about to start advertising it until we found out that a customer that we put into business in 1910, Bluebell, has been making the Great Divide ice cream since 1910. So we couldn't call it that, but that's for 2 flavors. And this is one you'll never guess. I couldn't. Aha. Gelato 3 flavors. So that when you've got 3 flavors, you just scoop straight down and you get all 3 into the spoon.
Spumoni.
Spumoni.
With these little instant puddings by Jello. So Meadowvale, as he had mentioned, comes in a bladder, a traditional bladder.
Why don't you
It's the best
call
stuff
the,
you'll probably ever have when it comes to dairy-free and trying to taste more like a dairy. My husband actually prefers it more than regular dairy because it's so great. The only disadvantage is that it is a coconut-based product, so it does have a background taste of coconut. So whatever flavors you do make, it needs to complement the coconut. Sometimes if it's a very strong flavor like peanut butter, I'm pretty sure that will wash out the coconut because peanut butter is very extremely strong. But I did make a dairy-free pumpkin cheesecake ice cream, and it was very, very good using one of the Jello instant pudding boxes. And I read the ingredients just to make sure there was no dairy in it, because then you can't call it dairy-free, and there wasn't. So Jello even has that option of just cheesecake pudding flavor. And so I used the dairy-free mix, a can of pumpkin, and then the cheesecake pudding. Yes, you can't, I can't. You have to, you cannot lick. No, 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 no. 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 Oh, don't. Sammy, I think, will be 6 this year. She's very high maintenance, always on a pedal stool. This is Stella. She's new. She came within the last year. No. No, no, no. Yeah. You're lucky that's it. No more. Because we'd have to clean it all. Yeah. They're here every single day. They're quite fun.
Have you ever done it with the dairy-free? Since it has that.
No, but I don't see why you couldn't. Crushed pineapple. It already has a coconut taste, so I would only probably do half of the can of the cream of coconut. And then the Malibu rum. I don't see why you couldn't do that. Malibu rum has a very low alcohol content in it, so you have to use more of it versus, the wine. If I use 2 whole bottles of the Malibu rum, it's not going to taste as strong as the 2 whole bottles of wine. So I think I wound up putting like 10 ounces of Malibu rum, which is pretty high, because usually if you use like cognac or rum or something like that, you do 4 or 6 ounces. When you work with pudding mixes and an ice cream, it gets a little thicker than normal because it is a pudding. That's the whole purpose of it, is when you whip it really fast. So it gets thick pretty quick. Are you out? Jeff or Steve probably would have done some vanilla extract. I usually don't when I'm working with just pistachios or cherry amaretto or a dairy-free something. I normally don't. If you're dealing with cookies or cinnamon sugar cookie, or if you're working with, what else did he make? Oh, the Oreo Crunch, the vanilla one, I would add the vanilla extract into it. But with pistachio, Steve claims that it helps enhance the flavor. I personally don't notice a difference by adding the vanilla or not putting it in there.
Coconut milk, and then you've got the powder of coconut milk?
No, so the dairy blend that you would get from Meadowvale, it comes in a bladder and it's ready to go. No need to mix or anything like that.
Okay, but is there a powder as well?
There is. That's that Mommy's Gelato that he was talking about.
Okay. And he is good with either of those?
I prefer Meadowvale's only because it's very creamy and the texture is amazing. The Mommy's Gelato, it's a lot more cost effective to ship because it's in a powder form, but you have to mix it with water and let it bloom before you can be able to use it, and it has more of a stronger coconut taste. They also make another one called Outrageous, and I prefer that one over the Frocohnut that they have because the Outrageous has no background taste. There's no coconut, there's no nothing. It's a sweeter blend, and so you can virtually make anything with that one, and it doesn't have that coconut. That's also made by Mommy's. All right. Mommy's Gelato. He says Mammy's, but it's Mommy's. Meadowvale is in the liquid, and the powder form is by Mommy's. All right, ready for pistachio ice cream? Pistachio. Anybody watch The Master of Disguise? Pistachio Disguisey. Who took my spoon again? Hi. And this is just a very basic, simple recipe. I already got one.
You don't like that one?
I'm already using it. I don't want to get another one dirty. You can add stuff, change stuff. If you want pistachio cherry, just get a jar of maraschino cherries. That's the cherries that I would choose. And I would puree them in a little blender and then add them in to the machine. Or you can fold it in. That's another good method. You have to try it. And I had some pistachios left over, so I guess this is what Jeff calls art.
It's all good.
It's all good.
It's all good.
What do you think?
Excellent.
All right.
It's right here, my friend. Thank you. Thank you.
How's it?
Spot on.
Oh, good.
I'll just take one. I think I helped you.
Don't like pistachios.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's fine.
Here you go.
Residuals. That is excellent. That is perfect.
And simple.
Wow.
Dairy mix, pistachio pudding mix, and pistachios. That's it.
Don't take ice cream?
No.
No.
They sure try.
I know, but it gives them gas, and
You
then
gonna
I
put
have to
this in
deal
your
with that.
Mine. Thought about it.
Rough truck ride home.
Yes.
Certainly couldn't be simpler. Couldn't be simpler.
Your profits are there.
So on the divides, I noticed that at the bottom it kind of goes up, but that's actually forming the bucket,
And
correct?
then maybe
This thing here, this is the one that got all bent
No,
up.
no, no. Well, both of those.
Yeah.
Like if you set it down straight on the table,
Yeah.
see how you see a little bit underneath? That
Mhm, that's
actually
because-
forms-
yeah,
that's
because of the
going up.
bucket.
Oh, okay, so it actually forms the whole bucket complete.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
That's our last flavor.
Oh, is it?
Any questions that you can think of
A big hand for us.
in the audience?
Pat yourself on the back.
You've learned more today than you ever could have learned yesterday.
Wow. Yeah.
Okay, us
Wait a
too?
minute.
No.
So if you have any questions, just contact us. Christi, CHRISTI at EmeryThompson.com. Emery is EMERY. Or Steve at EmeryThompson.com. We're going to take a tour of the factory and show you how we build them. We're just going to stick to this building, not the other two. And whenever you're ready, if you want to gather up your stuff, we'll head out there.